please talk about this awesome indie movie. And then he like names something that literally I've never heard of, like a piece of fruit in a cup. It's this indie movie from Chile.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
This episode of the SinCast is brought to you by HelloFresh. Visit HelloFresh.com and use the promo code SinCast to save $35 off your first week of deliveries. All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hello.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Scher.
Hi.
And returning to us the second time, Aaron Dicer.
Hey, guys.
Hey, he brought us gifts.
He did bring us gifts.
Thank you. I earned that applause.
You were here previously, and we had an awesome episode last time.
Thanks, man.
And tell us your channels and stuff that you want to send to people too.
If you want to find out more about me, you can do so on YouTube at Your Movie Friend. You can just search Your Movie Friend on YouTube, subscribe there. Hang out on Twitter. My name's Aaron Dicer, AARONDICER, so it's just at Aaron Dicer. And the podcast is SiftPop, SiftPop. We do a weekly pop culture podcast. We usually do a movie review from the weekend, and then we'll talk about a second topic, like a TV show or whatever else is on our minds. Or we do a best ever challenge where we name the best movies ever in a particular category. We started a new thing called Sift Sort, where we take an entire grouping and sort it, from top to bottom. So we did like the Star Wars movies, and we have to officially agree on what that order is amongst the guests of the podcast. So we have a good time. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. And you're one of those who sees them all, right? You gotta.
What
do
you
mean one of those? What do you mean one of them?
I see as much as I can. This year, I was actually I saw 150 movies in 2016.
That's a lot.
The year before that was about 180, but
Wow.
I cut back this year primarily because of a lot of other different creative things that were happening. Plus, I changed my YouTube videos from just a straight talking to the camera review to a more produced 5 things about the movie kind of review. So I can really only do about 2 of those a week.
Which is awesome, by the way.
So yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. So because of that, I've seen a few less, but yeah, I still try to get to everything if I can.
All right. Well, today we're going to continue our series of best of the years we've been alive, and it is 2016 finally.
And here's to the fools who dream. You're about to be killed by a Zamboni.
Oh, excuse me, I'm carrying a dead body and I have a schwanz in my face, so I'm sorry I'm not Prakishnerov. You can't even say Baryshnikov. That's a good choice.
Nothing I can see but you when you dance, 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 feel it. Try everything.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
My dear boy, why do you say that? Why do you say twere?
Underoos!
We are
What happened?
somewhat caught up on all these. I know I jammed as many movies as I could in the last 2 weeks to the point they're kind of overlapping at this point. But
Where did you jam them?
that's the secret at the end of the podcast.
I think we've all been cramming.
Yeah.
Now, I think before the three of us started cramming, Aaron already had us by like 60 movies.
Right.
Because he's a critic, and because he sees them for a living, he loves them, and he also gets screeners that we don't get. And I'm just going to throw myself on my sword right here and now as the guy who has seen the fewest 2016 movies. And I apologize in advance if that somehow hurts you or ruins your listening experience. We got it covered.
This is sort of an interesting year because the blockbusters were terrible.
Yep.
Yeah, it was awful.
But the smaller movies were generally good to great.
Yeah.
And this cram session that I've had at the end of this, I'm like, whoa, where was all this?
Oh, for real. When I started getting screeners, up until that point, I think for the year I had 7 or 8 out of 120 movies or so that I ranked an A- or higher. Like very few good to great movies. And then in the final month, when I'm cramming all these screeners, I added another 11. I mean, it's just there's great movie after great movie.
It was a
right at the end of the
backloaded year.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
right before we saw Arrival, which was November.
Yeah, that was November. That's when it
Up
started.
until that point, I was like, God, Deadpool is going to be the best movie of the year.
Yeah.
Right? Because there had been a few here and there, and we'll talk about them more.
Yep.
I really like Star Trek Beyond and stuff like that. The Nice Guys had come out. But there just really wasn't a lot to point to. And then November till now, it's just been chock full of awesome.
And this is the most I've ever seen it do that. Like I don't think I've ever had such a disconnect with the release dates of some of these movies than I've had this year, because a lot of the stuff that came out, it was, I just didn't know if we were getting it at, like we're in Nashville. So I had no idea if we were getting those movies that were getting advertised. Manchester by the Sea, I saw the Matt Damon and the Casey Affleck ads and everything. I don't think we got it until much later after that. Maybe it was coming out that week. I don't know, but I just didn't have any idea. And then suddenly there were 10 movies that were good that came out.
You could see it or you could listen to it from the mini pods that we did on all the big movies that came out. And yeah, there were some middling reviews about Civil War and a couple of others, but it almost, going back and listening to it, we almost talked ourselves into Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Jeremy and I actually kind of did.
What's funny is that I just finished writing sins for that movie, and I went to town. Like, if you looked at the script I wrote, you would never believe that I tried to talk myself into liking that movie. Second viewing, it's not good at all.
Oh, we had this run of just, we didn't want to have these negative reviews of it. It was just shitty movie after shitty movie coming out,
Well, and when we go through a lot of these movies on the top 10, we'll you'll see what we're talking about. I will go to start off with 2016. I will go with the one that made the most money, Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It's made $521 million. I almost feel quietly it's made $521 million.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like this is a movie that people are talking about a lot.
No, it has to be the most inessential Star Wars movie ever made,
right?
Including the prequels.
Yeah,
know.
But I agree. From a story standpoint, in terms of like consequence to the universe, this is. I don't think you could take or leave this. You don't need this.
Are you kidding? It fixes, it fixes A New Hope. Like, I mean, story-wise,
I don't give it credit for retconning.
You don't?
A plot
See,
hole.
I do. It was one of my favorite things about the movie.
But they've had 40 years for people to
Are you talking about the fact that there was somebody on the inside who made the...
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I hated that.
Yeah.
I hated that.
We're going to disagree with you right out of the gate.
No, listen.
Screw you. Thanks for the gifts.
I mean,
I came prepared because there are several movies I know you guys don't like that I enjoyed.
The thing is about what that particular plot fixing did for me was, if you're going to make a mistake on the Death Star, why don't you make something a lot easier to hit then?
Because it would have been caught.
Oh, no, it wouldn't.
A New Hope goes so far to talk about how fucking impossible this shot is that they have to make.
Yeah.
There's no way a human being was trying to give them an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I had a problem with it. However, that being said, Rogue One was solid, and we did review this movie, and we did enjoy it. I don't think we were like overwhelmed by it or anything like that, but I think we loved the characters, and we loved how it had balls to do what it did, and those characters, like I keep feeling like I felt like they kept trying to make these like, we're gonna have standalone movies for these guys at some point. So
the story is terminal, and that's why I think it's inessential. Yes, of course, it does tie into the larger picture, but it's like a really good dessert where you're like, well, the meal was even better. Like, that was okay, that was really good, but I didn't need it.
I can see that.
Yeah, plus the CGI layout and Tarkin.
Yeah,
I'm never going to get over that.
Yeah.
Can you believe how many people didn't notice? Are they being honest?
Well, no.
Like,
I don't think they are.
This is a larger discussion, by the way. I don't know how far we want to get into it. There are people who don't notice, and there might be people in this room, for all I know, who don't notice when they get a new TV that it's got that smoothing on it. And that like movies look like live.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's like the news. Yeah.
Over the holidays, the family was all watching what's that bullshit movie that Chloe Grace Moretz was in earlier in the year? The Fifth Wave. Oh. The Fifth Wave was on. And they were watching that for whatever reason, and I was and she was like running on a street, and I was like, man, this looks live. What's going on with this? They had just gotten this TV.
Yeah.
And I turned to my brother and I was like, you see that, right? Like, it looks live. And now he saw it, but everybody else in the room was like, I don't see anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's that whole like graphics acceleration where it refreshes at a bigger rate.
Yeah, and you have to
frame
just go in there and you cut it off and it looks normal again.
Yeah.
But then, like, of course, after it got cut off, they're like, I don't see any difference. I don't see any difference. Yeah, I don't care if you guys don't see any difference. Okay, I see it. That's the important thing. So I can see why somebody wouldn't see a digital, Grand Moff Tarkin because but even though it was super obvious, but I kept on thinking the other guy was him for the longest time.
Oh, yeah.
Like it might as well have been.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very weak character, I think. The supposed main antagonist of this movie.
Yeah.
Who, I think I said in the podcast, just pops planets and fails the whole movie. That's all he does. But he's not very well defined to the point where you could believe, this is who Tarkin is being played by at this point.
Mm-hmm.
No, we've got something special for Tarkin lined up. An 8-year-old made it.
This was a tremendously huge year for animation and children's movies, led mostly by Disney, but also Illumination Entertainment. Both of them have multiple entries into the top 10 for the box office. Finding Dory, which I think you and I, Jeremy, did not like at all.
I can defend Dory a little bit if you want me to, because I did enjoy it.
I don't want you to defend it.
Okay,
I loathed that movie.
I know, because you said it's the same thing. I think you have something in your craw about like repeating content. Because the Beauty and the Beast thing you talk about a lot, Disney remaking their animation. And I get it, totally get it. But I think what happened with Dory with you is something early on tweaked you that it was the same as Finding Nemo, and that's all you could see the rest of the way.
I don't deny that, but I also think I'm right.
Yeah, there's a beautiful movie under there. A
Maybe.
really emotional movie about, overcoming obstacles and never giving up.
Didn't we have all that in the first movie?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I mean, themes can be repeated, right?
So
That's
I'll go on
beauty.
record. If a movie is unnecessary, I'm not going to like it.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah, absolutely.
There's no reason for me to watch all the same stuff. The Beauty and the Beast is a better example because it is looking more and more like a literal shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
And we watched the trailer when we went to see Moana, and my wife was like, I really want to see that now. And I was like, no, why? And she was like, but it's pretty. And I was like, but just watch the original.
Yeah, it's like the shot-for-shot remake of Psycho back in 98 or 99, whenever that was.
If that was a student project, it's interesting and you probably get an A. As a piece of entertainment for the masses, there's no freaking point.
Exactly.
For me, though, it wasn't so much that it was copying Nemo or anything like that. I can see some elements there and whatever. I don't think it was a straight copy. I just don't think Dory makes a great, all the way through the movie protagonist.
I think that's a very fair point. I completely agree with
it's
that.
also the convenience
bonanza. That's the other problem that I had with it, was just all the different things. And it may be amusing to a lot of people when they're swimming along and all of a sudden they run into these sea otter things and then they make them go into traffic and all that. For me, it was just so annoying, It
was the most hard to suspend your disbelief Pixar movie we've had. And we've had ones with talking toys.
Yeah.
So that should tell you something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I don't think you're wrong for liking it. I watched this. I watched it twice.
Mm-hmm.
And even my mom was watching it and going, this seems kind of long. And she loves Disney movies, And I was like, well, it's only an hour and 40 minutes.
Come on, guys. Did you see all the shell pads? I mean, how many shell pads that they just made for Dory just in case? I mean,
they're stupid.
They're
so stupid. We lost our kids. Let's sit here for a really long time and do nothing.
Yeah, we send the hell
that
out
is
of it.
not love. That is stupidity.
Yeah.
Anyway,
parenting does.
Let's
make
talk
us
about
stupid.
something else.
Well, I mentioned animation, so we're going through all these. Secret Life of Pets, another movie I didn't like.
No. This was such potential wasted. Good voice cast.
Yes.
A lot of comedians here. Really, actually, I think it's beautiful animation, but the story is so contrived and Toy Story-esque and just a huge
Well, I
swing.
went on a record the first time I saw the trailer, as this is an obvious Toy Story
Oh,
rip,
it is
and I'm never
beyond
going to
obvious.
watch it, and I still haven't. But what really pissed me off was that damn rabbit shitting in the trailer.
Yeah.
Any movie that tries to sell me on its comedy by showing me poop has lost me. That's not funny. God, really pisses me off.
It was a movie that when I first started watching it, I was like, Louis C.K.'s really killing it for me. Yeah, he's so funny in this. Yep. And then then the adventure starts.
Yep.
and I really didn't like the fact that these two dogs that we're supposed to root for, they're assholes. I mean, they're assholes for the first 30 minutes of the movie. Then they get in the adventure, and it's like, why am I supposed to be hoping that they get home again?
All of a sudden, they're buddies.
Yeah. And I was like, usually you have something that earns this friendship, and you say, okay, yeah, I want them to get back home. Mm-hmm. The human owner is not of any consequence at all either.
Yeah, because it takes place in one day.
Yeah. So there's
ridiculous.
There's never a part in there where you see the human owner going, where are my dogs? Yep. Where did they go? I shouldn't have left the windows open.
Yes, every window is open in this apartment building
in New York.
Oh my God!
I feel so justified in not having watched this movie.
Absolutely.
What did you think about it?
I stand with you on your hatred of Secret Life of Pets.
All right.
Good.
You mentioned it's a clone of Toy Story in so many ways. It even starts with the shot of the exact same Toy Story clouds that Toy Story starts with.
Wow.
In Toy Story, it's a wallpaper, I think, that it's actually on.
Right.
But in here, it's like it's like the exact same clouds.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, look, Toy Story. We're watching Toy Story.
And they zoom into New York,
You know that started with, what if we did a Toy Story and we were talking pets?
Yeah.
Boom. And somebody immediately stamped green light on that paper and rushed it out the door.
Well, we had more talking animals also with Zootopia also coming out.
Yeah.
Now, I have somewhat seen this movie. I have never just sat down and watched it. I thought Jason Bateman was fun in it.
Oh, he's great.
But I can't really tell you overall what I think about this movie.
I think it's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. It's far superior to something like The Secret Life of Pets. And you want to compare a good talking animal movie and a bad one. It's full of heart. It's got a lot of relevant messages.
Yeah, the racism stuff in there is really good.
It is, and it's biting too. It just doesn't. It's missing 5% of the magic of something like Big Hero 6 or Wreck-It Ralph for me. But it's up there. It's a solid A- in my book.
I've seen this movie about 6 times this year. My kid worships this movie. And I love it. I mean, yeah, there's some contrivances in there and everything, but I loved everything from like her family on the bunny farm and the kid farm. And, the interaction between her and Jason Bateman is great. The whole, like, you can do whatever you want to type of element to it was really good. Mm-hmm. And the animation is terrific in this. It's not the star of the show, but it's just really, really solid all the way through,
There's the scene where she's giving the press conference and she turns on Bateman's Fox character without realizing it. Mm-hmm. I found that so powerful about the ways we offend or hurt each other without meaning to, in whether it's race or gender or whatever that our world is dealing with. That we don't realize that just because we know our heart and we know what we're saying, we still could be hurting someone, and that's important. We should realize that. So there were a lot of instances of that in this movie that I thought were really good.
It's also the best movie from this year that features Shakira. I'm gonna throw that out.
I'm gonna have some Shakira words here in a bit when we get to Moana. So let's keep going down the list.
All right. So there are like I said, there are a lot. Like so Sing is also in the top 10. I don't think any of the three of us have seen Sing. Have you seen Sing?
I saw it. Now, here's the thing. I took a lot of flack because I did not like this movie. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people really enjoyed this movie. It's just way too, paint by numbers for me. You know exactly what's going to happen in the movie. It's American Idol with animals. You get the concept right away, and it never goes anywhere from there.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you're supposed to fall in love with the characters, but you're not really given enough time with any one of them to really fall in love with them.
Mm-hmm.
So
this was the year of the movie that was pitched by something with animals.
Yeah.
Toy Story with animals.
Yeah.
Right? Racism with animals.
Yeah.
American Idol with animals.
Right.
Racism with animals.
Yeah. First, let's begin with the racism. Now let's add animals.
Let's do Birth of a Nation.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Sing is just one of those movies that just never appealed to me. As soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, this reminds me of that movie Duets that came out, only not animated or whatever. And like
Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, Paul Giamatti.
Cruising.
Yeah. And then it seems like such a pandering thing now to put music in a movie and everything, like Pitch Perfect, and they started making, all these shows like Glee and everything. Basically,
that's Shrek's fault.
Yeah.
Largely.
Or American Idol's fault, one of them.
Oh, yeah.
or just the fact that music is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, music is a great quick way to communicate something to people in a way that they like. There's a joy and exuberance to music that, you know, a lot of times just text doesn't do. And so, if I liked one thing about Sing, it was the music. Like, those pop songs were fun to hear, and it was funny to watch animals doing them. But, you know, I watched the trailer afterwards, and, you know, you get it all right there in the trailer. So, you know.
And then, okay, two more that made a lot of money. Moana, which I haven't seen, and Trolls, which I haven't seen.
Well, I can't speak to Trolls, but I saw Moana like not even a week ago, and I really liked it, which is funny because for 4 weeks my wife has been begging me to go to Moana, and the timing has just not worked out. Like, okay, let's go, but they changed the show time, and now we get this other thing. And so finally we broke down. I was not looking forward to this at all. I knew it would be a short, brief Disney animated romp, and my wife would have a good time. We walk out. And we're on our way to the car, and I was like, I really enjoyed that. She was like, you did? I didn't like it at all. And I was like, what happened?
Nice. She didn't like it?
No.
It's
and I don't
so
know,
good.
I don't know what the deal is. Like, I think I was smiling the whole time. The Rock is charming in everything that he does. I really appreciated the unique cultural setting of this movie. It's not something, okay, speaking of Toy Story with animals, this is not something I've seen before.
Right, yeah.
And there's no goddamn forced love interest. There's no love interest at all. It is not about love. And she's like the most atypical princess. There's even a line in the movie where he says, your dad's a king, you have a talking animal sidekick, you're a princess. By the way, the talking animal sidekick who doesn't talk, he just chirps, is voiced by Alan Tudyk.
Oh, nice.
It's a chicken named Hey Hey, and I did not even think it was voiced by a person. And I get home and I'm scrolling through the cast and I was like, this motherfucker got paid to go into a sound booth and go. And it's one of the funniest things in the whole movie is that chicken, in my opinion.
No, the chicken's great. I was surprised the pig didn't come with her too, because
I was glad he didn't, though.
Yeah, no, I was too. I thought that was the right call. And this movie makes a lot of right calls.
It does.
It understands, you know, what its purpose is, what, you know, the audience is going to want from it, and it goes to the right place. I love the way it ends.
Yeah,
like,
I do too.
The end is
very
really
diverse
beautiful.
music, and I loved the ending too. I think that's one of the things that bothered my wife because she was all like, "Well, what happened?" And I was like, "Well, she did the lullaby that's what's her name does on Hulk." You know, she basically. I thought it was beautiful and poetic. It merges both, you know, cultural history and I guess fantasy elements, magic, mystical elements in a really, really strong way. My biggest gripe, though, is that as soon as the movie is over, fucking Shakira comes on, butchering one of the songs from this movie, and it really bothered me.
I think we need to be done with the people in the movie didn't do it good enough, so let's get, you know, a pop singer to do another version of it thing. Like, do we need that? Like, if the version in the movie works...
No, and that's what they didn't do for Frozen. You know, the Adele Dazeem, Dina you know, that was the version that got out there as opposed to the Peebo Bryson doing Beauty and the Beast and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I agree.
Anything to say about Trolls, or the less we say about it, the better?
Great theme song.
Yeah. Although, boy, I would have liked to have seen Sing Street get a song in the Oscar noms as opposed to the Troll song. But it's likable enough. It's a cupcake. You know, it's pretty and beautiful, and it tastes all right, and you're going to forget about it pretty quickly. I
don't mean to completely steer this in animation. I know if there's people who hate animation.
It was a year for animation. It really was.
But there's two other ones that I did not see that have gotten critical acclaim and are nominated for Oscars. That would be Red Turtle and Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Kubo and the Two Strings.
Did you not like Kubo?
I loved it.
Oh,
it
okay,
is
good.
So depressing.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I actually emailed Jeremy for something unrelated, and it just said, you know, we had watched it, and that my kid had liked it. You know, he's 8 years old, and he did, but he had this weird look in his eyes, and I was like, all right. And I went to take him to bed. He was bawling.
Oh, wow. Poor guy.
Because, yes, it has a wonderful spiritual message underlying, but at face value, it is depressing as balls.
Okay.
So, yeah.
No,
well, and it's a technical wonder, too, right?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
This is a stop-motion movie.
I was so happy to see it get the nomination for visual effects because it deserves it. It is gorgeous. It is one of the most beautiful stop motion things I've ever seen on screen. I think there is some CG in there. I don't think they've said it's all stop motion, but it is absolutely gorgeous, and I think it's a beautiful movie. And yeah, you're right. Some of the themes are a little bit deeper in this. So But for me, I'm a grown adult. I can, go to bed without crying after watching it.
Had a great trailer, very soulful trailer that sold me on the movie. I just haven't seen it yet.
I also have to be honest. I did not think, again, I go into movies about as pure as I can. I don't watch trailers. I try not to read too much about them. I want to just experience the movie and then go find that other stuff. I didn't know any of the voice cast. I generally go into animated movies not knowing who the voice cast are. I did not realize it was Matthew McConaughey, and that blows my mind because he has such a distinct voice. Yeah. It reminded me of Guardians. The fact that I didn't recognize Bradley Cooper, right off the bat either. So I was impressed because I didn't think McConaughey.
Man, if I didn't know Bradley Cooper was voicing that raccoon, I would never.
I wouldn't know. It's completely different. Yeah.
Yeah.
What can you say anything about Red Turtle? Have you seen that?
Sure. Yeah, I saw Red Turtle. It is fabulous.
Yeah.
It's there's very little dialogue. In fact, almost zero dialogue in the entire movie.
I'm sold already.
And it is beautiful. It is metaphoric. It's a great experience.
It finally reaches here in Nashville like February 10th. I think this episode is after February 10th, right?
Yeah.
So it will sound weird that, but I haven't seen it. But it will be coming out in the next few days.
It's finally going to get here 2 days ago.
Yeah. That's correct. All right. What else do you guys want to talk about?
Well, let's talk about Deadpool because that was, I still think like history might look at this as Deadpool's year. Like sometimes Barrett and I like to discuss like whose year in music was it this year? And if we're talking about movies in the same kind of light, I still think Deadpool was the biggest surprise in terms of how good it was, of how much money it made, and how much influence it spawned, because that is a direct relation to the Logan movie. We're getting this final Wolverine movie, getting the green light to be as R as they want. And that's a character that should always have been R-rated. And so here in a month or two, we're going to get Logan, and that's going to be R-rated. Trailers look fantastic. That's all because of Deadpool. Boy, I really, really enjoyed this. And I'll be honest, there was a Cinemasins fan that recognized me sitting to my right, staring at me, watching my reactions to the movie, and I still loved this freaking movie. Even now, that is normally the kind of thing that will throw off the entire experience. But this movie has so much fun. Just bursting at the seams. It's a perfect movie to play on HBO in the background while you're doing menial tasks. You can pop in and out of it. The time structure works perfectly, and Ryan Reynolds is born to play this. He's as perfectly cast as Robert Downey Jr. was as Iron Man, if not more so.
Yeah, I think the movie succeeds primarily on that casting. I think Reynolds was made to play Deadpool.
Well, and he probably is the one that leaked the test footage anyway, because he's been pretty coy about it, but there was only 3 people that had access to it, and he was one of them.
Well, I was a little worried about this movie when I first saw the trailer for it, to be honest with you, because the breaking of the fourth wall is not something that we should welcome in a movie in general. And the trailer that got leaked from San Diego Comic-Con, the dude who was in the back who like recorded it, I'm sitting there going, how did he get away with that? He's just sitting there. But I watched it and I was like, oh my man, seriously, is this the movie we're getting? Is a bunch of just like self-reference, and these like, did I leave the oven on and all that type of stuff? I was just like, no. And then I watched it and I was just like, okay, this works the way they presented it.
It's because it goes for it. We've always talked about Marvel movies of being squashed into a mold, regardless of the director. Once the suits get a hold of it. This one just says, fuck it, literally
from
and figuratively.
The opening credits.
Exactly.
You know you're in for a completely different film. It just tears all the walls down for what you should expect. You liked it, right?
I did. It's definitely on my best of the year list. I don't think I liked it quite as much as most people did. And I think a lot of that has to do with, I think if you strip away the self-referential stuff and, all that, I don't know that there's really much of a plot here. Like, and again, I don't know that it needs it because it's not necessarily that kind of movie.
Right.
But, looking at it in that way, I don't know that, 15 years from now you watch it and you go, okay, well, what is it about? Imagine that movie doing all of that and having some, depth to it, some like meaning to it. And I think it goes to a whole other level.
That's why it was Cinnable, basically, is because it does have this loose narrative structure that is kind of relying on cliches and things like that.
And so I couldn't wrap my brain around some of the self-referential stuff too, like the mentioning of other Marvel movies, like actors that play. And I'm going like my brain exploded.
We actually send that in the send video, because when he does do self-references and he's saying, when it basically says I'm Ryan Reynolds, well then, why isn't he constantly hounded for autographs as Ryan Reynolds then? When he references, when they ask, they're taking him to the X Mansion and he's like, is it going to be McAvoy or Stewart?
Right.
You're like, okay, well now you're making it sound like, that you've watched the movies of X-Men rather than being in that world of X-Men.
Exactly.
And that's it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
But that's where the sin comes from.
There's no way to make it make sense in your brain.
Yeah.
No.
No, but that is always who Deadpool has been. He is always known he was in a comic book.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's always referenced other comic book arcs and stories and talked directly to the reader. As long as you don't do too much of that, like I like the fourth wall breaking stuff more than I liked the self-referential stuff. Like I liked the joke about a fourth wall break within a fourth wall break. It's like 16 walls. That's way
especially
funnier.
the way he delivers that too.
That's way funnier than the stuff you were talking about where he says McAvoy or Stewart. Or we see the actual cover of Ryan Reynolds, or we see the picture of the other Deadpool he played in another movie. That stuff's not as funny for me.
Yeah. Of course, yet another huge year for comic book movies. Wasn't a banner year for comic book movies. After you have Deadpool, you have 4 shitty movies.
Yeah. Let's hear
come on.
You have
Batman v
Superman.
Okay, I'll give you
Suicide Squad.
Give you that one too.
You have X-Men Apocalypse.
Yep.
And you have, not shitty, but Civil War, not nearly as good as it should be.
I agree with that statement. I enjoy Civil War more than Winter Soldier or Ultron, but not that much more.
I could watch that airport scene on repeat. I love that scene.
I love that scene too, but I think the reason I love it is Spider-Man, because they finally get the tone right with Spider-Man. Like, when you have a metal arm, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man in no way should be a part of this fight. He's a 15-year-old kid, and this is supposedly a fight to the death.
Right?
And it's always bothered me that, oh, come on, Underoos, and he swings in, and I'm like, that guy's going to tip the battle?
Right.
It's like, what's her name, cocking her guns in the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I am very impressed, but it takes a little away from that scene for me to know that it was essentially 100% CGI. The only things that aren't CGI are people's faces who don't have a mask on their costume. So Iron Man, Ant-Man, Spider-Man, in that scene, all CGI. And it's just a little less thrilling to me. I don't
know that.
Well, it's not the same as Tom Cruise hanging on the side of an airplane, where my brain knows that really happened.
Yeah.
This is frightening. He might actually be peeing himself right now. I do think the airport scene is good. I'm tired of Bucky. I'm sorry if you're like the
very
biggest Bucky fan in the world, but this is the third fucking movie where all Steve does is bitch about Bucky and whine about Bucky. Like, I mean, I had a childhood best friend. Have no fucking clue where they are right now in life. I'm tired of Bucky. If the next movie with them has like a Bucky-centric thing, I'm going to be pissed.
And let's not forget, one of the most convoluted and impossible villain plans ever put into a film.
Absolutely. That was my biggest problem with the movie, is it makes no sense from the villain's perspective. Like, how in the world is that supposed to happen?
That's a movie I'd like to see from the villain's perspective. I'd like to see him do all this stuff in a year.
Yeah.
Do you tell me how he came, like, he's Mr. Bumfuck from this, this dumbass country that just got thrown like into the war in Age of Ultron, and decides, I'm going to find out about all these people's little picadillos, and I'm going to make them fight somehow, some way.
Let's not
in
forget
a year.
that magic MacGuffin in the wall in Cleveland.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Cleveland?
Right.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
It was in Civil War, right, where they drowned the guy whose nose was above the waterline?
Yep.
Yeah.
That always stood out to me. I mean,
that was in that apartment scene in Cleveland. That was the
that's why I thought about it. I was like, he's not, there's no, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Well, and if you think, I do think the movie suffers from too many characters. It's trying to service as many people as it can, and we do get a cool Spider-Man moment. We do get a cool Black Panther moment, but cool individual moments are not going to add up for me. There's no stakes in that fight. You want to talk about, like, compare that fight to Rogue One in terms of whether or not there are stakes. Well, in Rogue One, maybe they go a little too far with the stakes. But here, I was never in any doubt.
But
Nobody's going to die.
Did you feel stakes in the Iron Man Captain America stuff? Like
No.
that fight that I did.
I have said this before. I'm going to get roasted online again, but you could swap Tony and Captain America's opinions on this topic, and it would play just the same for me.
I totally agree with that, by the way.
I do, too.
I totally agree with that. The fight itself, too, doesn't seem to have any stakes either because we all know they're going to be good in the end.
Yeah.
There's nobody who's going to die from this. There's not going to be any hurt feelings over this. They're going to be the same thing after this movie's over.
And the one guy who does get hurt has magic new legs 5 minutes later.
Right. Yeah.
And so this is my great concern with Infinity War is that we've already gotten confirmation of all of these characters from these other films that are going to be in it. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to be in it. And we're going to have like 35 people we're trying to give whammy moments to, and it's just going to either be bloated or none of it's going to work.
It's going to be the fight scene in Anchorman 2.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
And, not to mention that they're fighting an all-powerful space god.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Tony's missiles and Cap's shield are going to do in that circumstance. But anyway, I don't hate Civil War. Sure sounds like I do.
Speaking of an all-powerful space god, can we talk about Doctor Strange?
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed Doctor Strange.
And I didn't list that in that grouping there, but yeah, that was actually probably the second best of the comic book movie.
Oh, yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch was a real perfect choice for that. I think they got the tone of the movie very right. The humor is perfect in that movie. We have basically the magic carpet from Aladdin, in the cape.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a funny scene.
Yeah,
when he's
so
beating
good.
that guy's head over and over and over again.
Yeah.
We reviewed this movie, so I don't want to hit all the same talking points. But I really enjoyed it. It's visually stunning. Like some of the stuff they're able to pull off makes Inception look like 1920s era Hollywood stuff. So yeah, I really liked it. I'd like to see where they go with this character. I am concerned that the entire movie was to create an excuse to reboot anything Marvel they want with just putting it in a multiverse. Like, oh, it's a parallel universe. Here's what Spider-Man looks like in that universe.
Yeah.
And if we want to reboot, Iron Man, this is the way they're going to do it. Yeah. And I'm pretty positive that's how they're going to go about it.
But isn't that a comic book thing? I mean, isn't that what comic books did? Is they, did the same kind of nonsense to, create different...
Okay, but you're talking to somebody who's not going to go read every brand new rebooted Iron Man story. Right? Because, again, what beats are you going to hit that are going to matter to me that I want to see an Iron Man origin story again? Oh, well, it's not in the desert this time. It was in the forest where what are you going to change?
Yeah.
It's already perfect. It's already, you see what the problem is that Hollywood seems to think that old movies are not getting watched.
Yeah.
And that we need to reboot them to revive them and put them back on well, if you like a movie, you're going to keep watching it. I've watched White Christmas every year for my entire life. That's 41 years I've been watching that movie every year. If they remake White Christmas, what's the point?
Yeah.
Are they exposing it to a new audience that doesn't know the movie exists?
Are you saying you wouldn't watch the new one every year after that? You'd still watch the old one?
I'd burn the new one every year after that.
People are still going to watch Iron Man, the original Iron Man, because that was what encapsulated what ended up being this MCU.
And it's the best of all the Marvel movies.
Exactly. And this one, Doctor Strange, hits a lot of those same beats. But the problem is we've seen those beats before. They're fun. They're exciting. But yeah, I mean, we're treading on the same territory.
Well, in the whole process is getting a little long in the tooth now. I mean, Marvel's been doing this for a while, and you're starting to feel that okay, let's try something new. Let's do something different than all these superhero movies.
And there's no end in sight.
No, and I mean that's the design, right? That's the entire design of it.
And that's been my biggest argument, that they need to start allowing these good guys, like I mean, the two that I always think of in this, Edgar Wright and Shane Black. You just let them do what they can do to a movie, then their brand will sell the movie. It doesn't have to look the same as everything else. I know that there's a marketing guy somewhere who's saying, we got to make this look like everything else or people won't know. No, you sold Guardians of the Galaxy. You saw what Deadpool did. You need to start making things different and letting these auteurs do their thing and like make the movie the way that they envision it. and stop making it look like everything else. It's just, it is going to be a fatigue at some point. You're killing the goose, as they say in Glengarry Glen Ross. There's going to be a point where that people are going to say, all right, I've had enough of this. It's not going to happen soon, but there is going to be a point.
I think it's going to happen sooner than we think, because the DC universe has pretty much lost fans. Now, Batman v Superman made a shit ton of money, and so did Suicide Squad, and some guy at Warner Brothers is like, fuck you, I went and made $100 billion, la-da-da. But they've already lost the faith of the fans, right? Because, like, okay, 2 days ago, it came out that Affleck's no longer going to direct the next standalone Batman movie. And I've read at least 2 rumors that he may be slowly severing himself from it completely, as in he won't even act in it. But what I saw predominantly, and not just amongst my fans on Reddit and Twitter, was, please God, not Snyder. Don't let Snyder near it. Like, the main comic book movie fans have realized we've gone in a bad direction here. So those movies are going to be a harder sell moving forward.
Yeah.
Beginning with Wonder Woman, which I've heard maybe disappointing.
Well, that was the funny thing about when they did all these trailers. Was it the last San Diego Comic-Con where they did like Wonder Woman, and then they did the Justice League, and all these trailers came out. Like, I remember, I was sitting there going, people are excited about Skull Island and all these. I was like, this is gonna be garbage, guys. You guys are excited about this? Like, just imagine what we're going to feel like when the movie's about to come out. Like, you saw the trailer now and you're excited because you were in San Diego and you feel like you're special. But, like now, but now that Skull Island's about to come out, I'm like, those trailers look awful. Like, you can't.
They not only look bad, but the only thing that's even interesting about Skull Island is the eventual King Kong versus Godzilla thing that they're trying to build to, which the way they did Godzilla is pointless and stupid.
Right.
You got to make King Kong literally as big as the Empire State Building at this point if you want him to hold his own against that Godzilla.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't appear as though they've made him that big. So I want to know how that's is he just going to jump on Godzilla's head and like beat him from behind, choke him out? Like, how's that going to work?
Whatever happens, no one's going to win because they're going to have the sequel and they're going to have, a rubber match. So,
So anyway, to complete my point, I think the DC universe has already lost comic book fans through shittiness. I think the MCU is going to slowly lose them through sameness.
Repetition. Yeah.
Repetition. Because you already have trouble telling Civil War, any of the Captain America second and third movies, and the Avengers sequel. They're all bleeding together.
Yeah.
And I was tired of it a while before. I'm pickier than the average person. Average people are going to catch up.
Oh, I was just going to say some foods you don't get tired of as quickly. That like I could eat pizza for every meal. For some people,
that's not true.
I could. I'm not saying everybody could.
I actually don't think that's true. If you had pizza for every meal, it would be less than 2 weeks before you were like, God, give me some broccoli, give me some salad, anything, even good things.
If you're buying, I'm willing to test this thesis of yours.
Well, I'm only going to buy you like CC's or something shitty, Totino's. I'm not going to buy you good pizza.
Okay, let's talk in brief about Batman v Superman. We don't need to really unhatch it, but it's another movie that. Not only is it just bad on the surface, it's bad because they're trying to introduce characters. Again, I do not agree with this stuff that they're doing with all these Marvel or DC, where they're just like, let's stick all these advertisements in movies now for stuff that's coming out. Let's get people excited now. The previews outside of the movie will get people excited about Aquaman. They'll get excited about The Flash. I don't need to see it in Batman v Superman.
Well, especially because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
A lot of that Flash stuff in Batman v Superman is nonsense. You have no idea what it's about.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the movie itself is bad. And then, like, again, the probably this might be the number one Cinnable moment of 2016 is the Martha thing.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
I believe there was a point where somebody said, we really need to have an emotional connection with these two, like their moms. That's it. They love their moms. Their moms are both named Martha. Let's do this. And they didn't think about what that was going to look like on a big screen.
No. And it looks awful.
And
it's laughable from the first moment.
Oh, it is.
It's awful.
I think we send that one moment 5 or 6 different ways.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different things about it that's just wrong. Calling your own mom Martha. Like getting upset because someone says Martha. Just the fact that you were wailing on this dude because he's evil in your mind, and now suddenly, no, why'd you say that? Why'd you say Martha of all the words you could say?
Why'd you say one of the most common female names in North America?
This movie is bad from conceptualization on. The fact that Bruce Wayne or Batman is targeting Superman, in addition to Lex Luthor being in there, which has nothing to do really with the overall point. It's executed poorly, it's edited poorly, it's written poorly, it's conceptualized poorly. Everything is bad about this. I remember when we had the mini pod about it, we were, again, talking ourselves into Ben Affleck. We were like, hey, I guess a pretty good performance, and he does have that good warehouse scene. Yeah. But he's also the thinnest kid at fat camp, as I said that time. He's he is in any other movie. This would be a bad performance.
Yeah,
but, it by contrast, it stands out.
I think one of the stupidest things about the movie is that they keep assigning Clark Kent sports coverage.
Yeah.
Go write about football. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I thought he was an investigative journalist.
And then, like, in the extended cut, we actually see some of the football
Do you
games.
really?
played.
That's great.
Yes, we do.
And it's like, yeah, you know how those Gothamites like their football. It's a fucking line that's in that movie. Yeah, I remember that, like, in everything that I've ever seen about Gotham, they're always talking about football in there.
Hey, if you watch The Dark Knight Rises, they don't like football because that stadium's, like, mostly empty. We joked about it. We made a Jaguars joke in our Sins video because that stadium's so empty. And they're kicking off. Like, they're doing the national anthem, kicking off, and no one's there. So Gotham does not like their football.
Let's switch off then and speak another briefly about Suicide Squad, another horrible, horrible movie.
Another movie that squeezes a Flash advertisement in.
Yeah. It's so awful. I you know what, for me, the primary thing about DC versus Marvel, if you want to go there, and I don't even know that you have to, but I think it's likability. Like, I don't like any of these DC characters. I should love Superman. Like, he should be, truth, justice, the American way. I don't even like the guy. In the Marvel movies, for all their flaws, man, you love these people. Like, you want to hang out with Captain America and Iron Man and, the Hulk even. Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is, really likable.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's one of the primary differences. And I come out of Suicide Squad or Batman v Superman, I'm just like, I don't like any of those people. Why don't I want to spend time with them?
Yeah. But yeah, that's just a piece of trash.
Yes,
That's just a movie's terrible. Another one that was just slightly above Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman was X-Men Apocalypse. We don't have to talk about this very long either, but that's another movie that has way too many characters. Where at this point now, like, X-Men's always been that way, but but that's even
together.
More than normal in this one, though.
They've always held it together for the first two, always in the 6 or 7 movies, whatever it is. The first X-Men was very good. Second X-Men was very, very good, and then First Class was good, and then Days of Future Past I thought was all right. And then this one just falls apart, and it's the same characters. Has a great Quicksilver scene, but other than that, like it's just complete silliness.
Well, once you start getting into the world of gods,
I'm telling you, Thanos.
It's the same thing. Infinity War is going to be the same deal. And there's never any believable way that they get defeated in these movies. Like, in Apocalypse, come on.
Yeah, he starts off as being like the most intimidating character of all time.
Yeah.
And then
and all because of some weird loophole with the way he talks through Xavier. And he can somehow still talk to Jean Grey and all that and not notice it and all of their stuff.
It's like frequency.
It's just, once you start getting into that, when it's the world of gods, it's impossible to root for your superheroes the way you usually do.
To take a jump back to Doctor Strange, it's the only one I've seen do it well because it takes what is impossible about that situation, that the only thing you can do to a super god is annoy them. And makes it their downfall.
It makes it freaking hilarious.
One of the greatest scenes of 2016 was that.
He's not, knocking him down with powers or explosions. He's just annoying the snot out of him. And he's like, okay, go away.
Smart characters
that's
being smart.
Beautiful. Yeah.
We're talking about something good.
Yeah, let's go to the good.
How about La La Land?
Let's do it.
Oh, you went right to the good.
Oh, man. Talk about good feelings. I mean, besides kind of towards the middle part or, 75% of the way through, I was smiling almost the entire way through this thing. I mean, it's just so charming. You don't think it has the emotional depth until the end, and then the end just smacks you in the face.
Yeah, I think this movie is a lot deeper than it looks, and has a lot more to say below the surface. And I thought it was magical. Now, I have just been informed by my brother today that he watched it and did not like it.
Oh, yeah.
And that he thought it was cute and charming, but it was way overhyped. Now, I do think you get to a point when a movie has as many accolades and awards as this one, where you do subconsciously get sick of hearing this is the greatest movie ever. That cannot help but affect the way you see it. But I don't understand how you don't see the magic in this. I told you guys in a previous podcast, I felt like I was watching, one of the classic musicals, like Singing in the Rain at moments. I was getting the same vibes, or the White Christmas. I just freaking adore it. I don't understand the backlash, but apparently there's enough of it there for SNL to mine a whole skit out of it.
Oh, the Aziz Ansari skit? It was, it's perfect because I've heard that from a lot of people, who are going and seeing it now and just like, yeah, that was good. I enjoyed it, but what is this about 14 Oscar nominations?
Yeah.
Like, how is that possible? And I'm just like, man, the experience I had was euphoric with that movie. They're not the greatest singers or dancers in the world, but that's kind of part of the charm.
I agree.
And
I
a
agree.
lot of those songs were sung on set, which adds for some beautiful moments where I think there's laughter in one of the songs they do because they kind of mess it up a little bit, but they keep going anyway. Love that stuff. I don't think Emma Stone, even though she got a nomination, I don't think she's getting near enough credit for her performance in this.
Yeah.
Some of those audition scenes are jaw-dropping.
It's an all-timer.
She almost makes you cry. With an audition piece before she gets interrupted, and it's even more heartbreaking after that.
Right.
Yeah.
Her performance of the audition song, it's a very common thing to hear that they don't have the greatest voices ever. I mean, compared to like The Rock and Moana, and they're great vocalists.
Right.
But a lot of what makes a song good or bad is when it is performed with emotion. Right? Like I played the piano growing up, and my piano teacher always told me, you play with such emotion. And I was like, well, I make a lot of mistakes. And she was like, but you play with passion. You're feeling this music. A lot of people who don't make mistakes can play it like a metronome, and it's not going to move as many people.
It's a computer program, not a song. Yeah.
And her performance of that audition song is powerful. And we talked a little bit earlier, and we'll talk more later about the Oscars, but I hope to God she gets to perform that song at the ceremony, and they don't like bring in, Amy Grant to sing Audition.
Idina Menzel.
What I liked about
Amy Grant.
I don't know. I'm Brandon Routh and now Amy Grant. I'm just pulling weird names out of my ass all day.
What I like about La La Land is that it has a very Annie Hall feel to it. This musical doesn't have a plot that is like most romantic films in general. Where it has a very like predictable beginning, middle, and end. The ending somewhat cheats, but it's a great cheat.
It is a great cheat,
and it's one of those. That's what really finally made me think this is really like Annie Hall was by the end of it. And so that's what I liked about it. It's not got this like tied up in a bow type of ending to it. Very charming all the way throughout. And you're talking about the Emma Stone audition. Yeah, that was great. And what's great is the non-audition part of it afterwards when the person is like interrupting her audition.
Yeah.
Just the expression on her face says it all.
Incredible.
Like, I can't show that this is bothering me, but it's bothering me, and it's written on my face.
And now I've lost the moment. I've lost the character. And they don't even let her finish.
Yeah.
They wrap up the audition after that. You got interrupted. You were killing it, but I forgot that.
Right. Yeah.
But I think I said this before, too, but I think that first audition we see is really important because when she does have career success later on in the film, I feel like it's earned. And all we ever saw were the shit auditions where she was like doing the bad cop line readings or what have you. Then it wouldn't feel earned at the end. You'd feel like, oh, okay, well, but we've seen her talent from moment one. We know it's there.
But that's the whole point of the movie is how you earn that. What is the sacrifice in life to earn your success?
Yeah.
And it deals with relationships. It deals with, the pain of auditions. It deals with all that stuff. It's really textured and really layered, and I love that stuff. Not to mention, we haven't even talked about how incredibly shot it is. That opening one-shot scene He's mind-blowing.
Yeah, this movie announces itself early of what it's going to be. You know, a big musical number with all these colors and all these lights.
Never cuts away.
Right at the and the way that he does it, man. Damien Chazelle is just... I can't believe he's had this much success with the first two movies. It's amazing.
And all I've got to say is even if you don't like La La Land, you have to know that this guy is going to be bringing us something new or like something that's going to command attention every time he comes out with a new movie.
Yeah.
Is he doing the Neil Armstrong thing next?
Oh,
is that what I heard? He's
that would
doing
be rad.
Yeah. I don't know how Neil Armstrong's going to play jazz in space, but I mean,
you do wonder if all his movies will have a musical element.
right? Yeah.
He was a terrific saxophonist.
Neil Armstrong
Yeah.
was? Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. Now we know why he's
Underknown
doing
fact.
it.
The other day, HelloFresh sent a box to this house, and it had 3 meals in it.
Oh, yeah.
Barrett came over, and we cooked together.
We had a cooking party, and it was like a rom-com. Except, you know, it was the buddy scene.
Yeah.
Where like we get into shenanigans, but
That's
nobody
right.
like sliced an appendage
That's
off
right.
or anything like that. But it was all in this HelloFresh meal kit. It was fantastic.
We got the meal that was the citrus shrimp, and we cut up some peppers and some onions, and we started cooking that in a pan. Put some shrimp down on it, and then like had all this like orange and lemon juice type stuff on it and everything. And man, was that delicious.
Yeah,
it was so freaking good.
Easy to follow directions. Man, we couldn't miss. Everything is in that box.
Yeah,
Everything
my
ready
wife
to
and
go.
I have a hard time eating healthy and cooking home-cooked meals for a couple of reasons. One is convenience. The big one for my wife is wasting of food, right? You buy an onion to sprinkle some onion on your taco or your salad, then you got 3/4 of an onion in your fridge for 2 weeks and you throw it out. And you know, she's trying to be environmentally conscious, not waste food. She hates throwing away food. And we also don't have a ton of time. It's hard for us to find a recipe, go buy all the ingredients, bring it home, and then. But those are the two key factors I think with HelloFresh, right? Because I got the meal that was beef and broccoli stir fry. It was this Asian infused noodle stir fry thing. It was amazing. But everything in that box is measured, right? They don't send you too much of anything.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
use everything that's there. There's no food waste, and all the recipes are designed to take 30 minutes, and ours took almost exactly 30 minutes. And then we both just sat there going, and it also exposed us to, well, cooking techniques and foods that we weren't used to, right? Because I don't very often bring home a hunk of ginger, peel it off, and then mince it and put it in a pan to start getting my aromatics going. I don't often do that, but we got to do that. It was pretty friggin' awesome. So we're definitely on board. My wife has already been on the website looking for more meals and how to get signed up. Because it's ticking all the boxes we were looking for in a way to do meals together that didn't waste food and didn't waste time.
Yeah.
It's delivered right to your door, which is terrific. It's all in this like kind of vacuum sealed
Yeah, it's
and
like a
everything.
box and a little. There's like an aluminum foil bag of some sort, and then there's like an ice block in there that keeps everything cold.
Yeah, fresh ingredients, all natural. It's fantastic.
I was on their website last night, and they have like a nutritionist that like oversees every single recipe to make sure the diets are balanced and that they're generally healthy. And not everybody's going to do that. There are plenty of services out there that want to sell you something fast and cheaper than you can get it somewhere else. But that's an important part of the whole thing for me, because I can cook at home and eat hamburgers and fries every night, right? And I want to eat healthier while also, spending time with my wife and making a meal together. So we loved it.
Ultimately, it was delicious, and all 3 of them I got thumbs up.
Oh yeah,
from everybody who tried them out. You can get $35 off of your first week.
$35.
$35.
That's insane.
That is
That's
actually
right.
pretty insane.
By going to HelloFresh.com and entering SinCast when you subscribe.
Yeah.
So do that. That's a great deal. It's well worth it. Let's talk a little bit about what's going to be up for Oscar and Best Picture. We did talk about La La Land. What are some other notables out of the Best Picture race that you'd like to talk about?
Well, we haven't talked about Arrival, and I know there's a lot of love,
Yeah.
rightfully so, in this room for that. Phenomenal movie. Caught me off guard by how deep and introspective it was.
It's almost hauntingly introspective.
Yeah, it was not what I was expecting in the best possible way. Amy Adams is phenomenal in it, and she carries the movie, and I love that.
Snubbed.
Yeah, completely. I saw Florence Foster Jenkins, and Meryl Streep is Meryl Streep.
Yeah,
This is exactly what Chris just said at lunch.
Yeah, briefly, yes, I saw Florence Foster Jenkins, and Meryl Streep is fine. But you're gonna award her over Amy Adams or Taraji P. Henson, who I think should have gotten nominated for Hidden Figures.
Absolutely,
that's a crime to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, Arrival. Back to that.
Yeah, it's beautifully shot. It's wonderfully compelling all the way through. There's information you don't know what it means, and then when you do know what it means, it becomes even more powerful with a lot of the way the movie is structured. I found it amazing.
You take this movie. This is an alien invasion story, right? This is aliens coming to the planet, and we have no idea what's going to happen. This could go in billions of ways, and it has already. And this is a completely new take on it.
Yeah.
From this whammy twist that is one of my favorite whammy twists that I've seen in recent years.
Yeah.
And the performances and the fact that it's about the drudgery and the investigation into how to communicate with these beings. Oh, man, but it makes it entertaining.
It feels more authentic, doesn't it? It feels more authentic than the let's nuke them, and they nuke them, and then they get
mad. Between this and Independence Day Resurgence, I would choose this one.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much every time.
Where would be a
Independence
point?
Day Regurgence, maybe?
Yeah. Where would be a point where you would actually choose that Independence Day sequel over this?
I would have to have like a lot of tequila.
Oh, my God.
Like
all the tequila.
Yeah, it's rare that you say 100%, but it would be 100%. Like, not pick that ever. Arrival is great. Just a total surprise of a movie. We've got another filmmaker here who is being launched in the stratosphere here. Denis Villeneuve is another guy that, while not John Q. America will not be able to pronounce his name, they will be liking the movies that he comes out with. Now, there is some Arrival backlash here and there too from people who are like, blah, 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 whatever, time travel, whatever. And of course, we've been told, I don't think we ever said it was a time travel movie, but people got onto us for saying it was a time travel movie.
No.
It's more playing with time.
It's a time perspective movie. It's not a time travel
They're
movie.
not thinking fourth dimensional.
That's right. Now, I don't think we said time travel. Maybe we did, and just whatever, but we didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
But there are some, there is some question as to whether or not, the way this movie unfolds could really happen under even with the rules this movie has set forth. Don't want to get too much into it. I don't care. That's how good this movie is. But it's also one of those where you're like, I don't know. Can you really say that this happens because of,
if we're not worried about spoiling it, I mean, the idea is when you're looking at time perspective, it works because it's not time travel.
Right.
So because it's all happening at the same time, there is no illogical kind of conundrum there that there would be if you were traveling to a different place, creating your own thing.
For me, the main thing is doesn't there have to be a key at some point, even if you're saying time is all on the same plane and there's got to be a key at some point where the person figures these things out on their own without what they do in this movie. Like in the movie, it's like, to work my way around it, I guess. Harry Potter and what is it? It's a Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah.
Where Harry Potter realizes he can do the Patronus because he already saw him.
Yes, but there had to have been.
But there has to be a point where you learned it and know what to do to get that point. That's my only it's a tiny issue.
Yeah.
But I do think the movie solves that simply by saying we don't have the perspective to be able to live outside of time.
Oh,
so
sure.
we always think in terms of before, after, key moment, that kind of things. But if you live outside of time, there is no before after. It's an event that happened, and that's why you know it happened, because it's
anybody but me down for the sequel a couple thousand years in the future when the heptapods need our help.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It'd be like the inverse, right? The humans arrive on this planet and the heptapods are like, oh, what the fuck are they going to do? Let's nuke them.
Yeah.
Directed by Roland Emmerich.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, what else on the Best Picture docket?
I don't have a list in front of me. I know Lion got nominated. I want to talk briefly about that. It is one of my most frustrating movies, not the movie itself, but because of all the awards movies, I listen to a lot of podcasts, listen to a lot of different people talk about this kind of stuff, and every single time they're like, yeah, Lion's nominated, never saw it. And I'm like, it's the one that nobody is getting around to seeing, and I would encourage you to see it, if for no other reason, that it is supremely emotional, and it's a wonderful journey of a true story that is one of those that's hard to believe until you see it.
Dev Patel's supposed to be really awesome.
He's great in it, and by the way, there is Viola Davis a supporting nomination?
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
She should be absolutely
equally
a lead actress nomination, and probably could win, by the way, Best Actress with that performance. Patel, however, is a supporting character. Like, he's not in it until like halfway through the movie, so you just kind of give you a heads up on that. But he's great in it, and it's a beautiful story. I was not expecting how much it got to me. I don't know if part of that is being a parent. I don't know, but it was really powerful.
No, this is one of the only movies of 2016 where I actually had to fight back tears.
Yeah.
Wow.
Including Manchester by the Sea?
Including Manchester by the Sea. Manchester by the Sea, I mean, for sure. I'm with you on that. But there wasn't anything that I didn't have a moment. But Lion was one of those movies. By the end of it, I was like just sitting there going, oh, I feel, a lot of emotions.
What is this salty discharge?
Exactly.
I think in the movie, this moment happens, and it's powerful, and the emotions start. And for me, the floodgates opened when, how they do in some of these true life stories, they'll show the real.
Yeah, yeah.
And as soon as I saw the real people, I was bawling.
Yeah.
I was just like, I cannot imagine. I mean, it's just really beautiful.
Yeah, and I like also the way the problem is attacked. I mean, if you don't know the story of Lion, I'm not going to go too much into it, because I think you should sort of watch this movie without as much, knowing as much as possible. But I love the problem that is presented to them and how they solve it. Basically using like Google Earth and stuff like that. It's just a fun, now it's fun that he's doing that. Now everything outside of that, it's very emotional and very, he's driven by this, but yeah, I was surprised, because usually a movie just called Lion and it comes out of nowhere, and you got like random Nicole Kidman in there and all sorts of
random Nicole. That's my favorite Nicole Kidman. Is random Nicole Kidman.
And now with 100% more random Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. Well, and then I watch it and I'm like, I shut my mouth at the random Nicole Kidman now, because she's actually very good in this movie.
Yeah, she is.
And not to say that she's horrible in other movies, but she's in so many movies that just come out and tank or whatever, that you're like, okay, it's probably okay or whatever. It was one of the biggest surprises of my movie watching of this year.
Yeah, I love Lion. You mentioned Manchester by the Sea. We can talk about that.
Let's do
nominated as well.
Yep.
Another beautiful end of the year movie. Casey Affleck. His scene in the who's seen it? Has everybody seen Manchester?
I have not. Everyone else has.
His scene in the police station is some of the most subtle yet intense acting I've ever seen. It was incredible.
You could say that for his performance throughout the whole movie, because there's only a few times where he really overtly shows emotion. It's a very understated performance, and you could see how that would just kind of be, it's almost like trance-like, because he spends most of the movie, his story, in a trance after this very traumatic event happens in his life, and then it's kind of a series of traumatic events.
you're not quite sure where he's coming from throughout this entire movie. The movie's got a sort of a hammer to throw at you, but I didn't know what was going on at first,
because it's structured very interestingly.
Yeah, because it starts off with him going and okay, he's got a family member has died and he's going out to check up on it. And then suddenly it goes to a part in the past, and it's done in such a way that you're like, is he going from this elevator down to another family member?
Right.
isn't that, it was one of those type of things. And then like later on, you're like, oh, okay, they're not doing the dreamlike, putting clouds at the edge of the screen, flashback type of stuff here. They're just going back in time.
It's just a regular transition back to it.
Yeah.
The other thing, one thing that's I think getting overlooked is how great Lucas Hedges' performance is.
He got nominated.
He got nominated, but overlooked maybe by like mainstream media.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's really talking about it. I mean, this
is a completely different type of character I've ever seen.
It's such a realistic 16-year-old.
Yeah.
A kid that wants to have sex with his girlfriends.
And
wants to play in a band.
Right.
The Stentorian band was hilarious. This is Stentorian. Then they start playing. But like, he's playing hockey and everything. He's got this great accent. Oh man, it's a great performance.
Oh yeah,
one of the standouts of the whole movie.
Yeah,
this movie, I wouldn't call it a twist movie, but there is a thing where if you watch this movie a second time, there's some really interesting recontextualization of some of those scenes, kind of knowing where it goes. I think that's to the movie's credit because it also trusts the audience, and I love that. It doesn't lay it all out there for you, put something on the screen 2 years ago, or it just lets you figure out how this story is being told and kind of live in it. And I appreciated that. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as we continue, this is a very solid Best Picture category. Like, I don't know if there's any I'd take out. Hell or High Water, which is one of the earlier.
Good.
Hell or High Water was in very much contention because it was earlier in the year that it came out. As one of my favorite movies. And I kept telling people, because, it was Deadpool and it was like, and it was like Nice Guys. People were talking about Nice Guys. And I was like, yeah, I like those two movies, but Hell or High Water, you got to give this a shot.
It's wonderful. And Jeff Bridges in that movie, there's a moment where he laughs that, by the way, was totally improvised, and I don't want to give away necessarily the scene, but it is one of the most compelling and strange and wonderful things I've ever seen on screen. And he's just at another level with being a character. And Chris Pine's great. And Ben Foster's great.
Yeah, I actually feel like Foster got snubbed on this one. I feel like Foster's always been the character actor that's kind of like been under the radar, and he's been in a lot of movies, and you'll be like, oh yeah, he was in that. This is one of the first times I was like, I'm going to remember that he was in this.
Yeah.
So, he's fantastic. It's a great little plot to it too.
Oh yeah.
Like it feels like, okay, maybe this is just a bank robbery movie or whatever. It's much more than that.
Yeah, and I wrote down that these are two of our finest actors. Like, I think the next 20 years will prove Ben Foster and Chris Pine to be elite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they have great chemistry in this movie. And this is a funny movie.
Yeah,
like for all the heaviness that's going on with the plot, this movie made me laugh a ton.
Yeah.
Like there's that line where he says something about were they black or white, and he was like, their skin or their souls. I was surprised how much I laughed at that movie, but I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't recommend this enough. Now, if we were doing a normal years we've been alive type of thing, Hell or High Water is a huge recommend.
Yeah,
it's one of those movies that you might forget about when you look at the cover of it. It looks like just an average B movie when you look at the whatever. Way better than that.
Oh yeah.
Another one that's up for Best Picture is Hidden Figures, a movie that I thought was pretty good.
It is good. It's surprisingly good. It was not one I expected a lot out of. It's more, it's a PG family look at, the African American women who helped get us into space. And it just seems very Disney in that way, even though it's not a Disney movie. No, I don't think it is. But at the same time, it's just really powerful. And these three stories that they tell are so important and so valuable. And there's humor and there's drama. It's good stuff.
I feel like another snub in this category, another person you could have removed Meryl Streep and just put Taraji P. Henson in there, because Taraji P. Henson is basically the main character of this movie. Then Octavia Spencer got a nomination, and that's fine. But I feel like Taraji P. Henson is the one who really drives this movie. And just even during a small, like these scenes where she's having to run from her place of work all the way to the colored bathroom at another end of the campus. it just watching her run in her heels and all that stuff is almost like best actress worthy for me. And but you know, just the fact that she's just the driving force of this movie, I got sort of Apollo 13 type of vibes out of this thing too. Yeah. And I love that movie. Well, it has both the structural thing that Apollo 13 does, where you're rooting for something, you know, to happen, along with the dramatic undertones of the importance of their stories and who these people were. And I think those two things, I mean, when you talk about Taraji, when she tells off that entire room of white men, you know, finally, after she's had enough, it is a powerful moment in film. It's really powerful stuff. Yeah, so. And the way she does it, like in a respectful but forceful manner, like still kind of like cowering a little bit, like, you know, like just, I want you to know that you need to know this, but you know, I'm trying to do this in this respectful manner as possible is great. I also really love that this movie deals with racism in a way, and doesn't play the white villain card or the white savior card. Yeah. You know, I mean, Kevin Costner would be, you know, possibly kind of the white savior, but he's not the point. Yeah. And is Jim Parsons is he would be another one. And then who's the girl in this that Kirsten Dunst? It's Kirsten Dunst. Yeah, Kirsten Dunst is kind of the, you know, the white villain, you know, in that way, but not really. Yeah. Because it allows their stories to come to the forefront. It doesn't have to be about who's oppressing or those kind of things. It's just culture is oppressing them.
Can I get an audio standalone soundbite of Aaron saying Kevin Costner's maybe the white savior? Yes. Because I think I could do some stuff with that. Another movie that I did like Field of Dreams. Another movie that I did not know anything going into when I watched it was Moonlight. This is a very beautiful, quiet movie. And I don't know if I would say it's like one of the best of the year or anything. I think it deserves to be there. I have the exact same take on Moonlight. It actually did not make my best of list this year. And it's not that it's not important. It's certainly a valuable story about homosexuality in the Black community and all those things. But it actually, and I'm going to lump Loving in with this. Okay, this too. And I haven't even seen that. So Loving is the story of the interracial couple that ended up going to the Supreme Court to make sure that Virginia, you know, couldn't keep them from marrying. Very important story and really good to know and watch. But the story itself just isn't compelling in any area except for the point of it. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's not as true about Moonlight. There are the structure in Moonlight is interesting and it is beautiful. Moonlight is beautiful. The cinematography on it is beautiful. But I just didn't feel like watching that movie, I'm like, oh, I love watching this movie. You know, it's just and it's three different eras that they go over with this main character. So you're never like grabbing onto one person throughout this entire thing. It's the character that you have to grab onto, but that's kind of hard to do sometimes when you have three different actors playing somebody. And I thought that they introduced maybe the homosexuality a little bit too early. Okay, fine. No, I'm not laughing at you. I just thought about a premature ejaculation joke. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They introduced. I feel like they introduced it too early because I feel like it's common on the school ground to to say these type of words or whatever. Yeah. And so at first I was like, are they talking about these bad homosexual words because that's just something? It actually turned out to be an important part of the movie, and it was just kind of weird type of thing. I'm sure everybody in this room has been called that before as a kid, and it didn't mean anything. In this one, it almost feels like they're saying from moment one, this kid was a homosexual and knew it or whatever and was worried about it. But no, Moonlight's a beautiful movie. It's just, exactly what we were saying. It's kind of one of those. I think it deserves to be there. I'm not sure it's one of my best of the year. Yeah, I felt the same way. And then finally, Fences, Denzel Washington, and Viola Davis. This is another one. This one also possibly a moment where I was almost brought to tears because of Viola Davis in this movie. Denzel is usual solid Denzel. In fact, he's got several scenes in the very beginning of this movie. He is going through probably 3 pages of dialogue. It is
absolutely insane watching him go through all of it, because he's just rattling all this stuff off, and it feels very much like you're there with him during this entire time. And I was like, good God, he is just smoking this.
It's very play-like, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's
yeah.
based on a play.
It is the play.
Yeah, and he did the play.
That's actually, I mean, that's actually my only negative for the film is it is the play. There's no purpose in putting it in a cinematic universe. I mean, you could just do it on a stage. Having said that, the performances are incredible. Somebody called this acting the movie.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing stuff. So you're just kind of in awe of how do you do that?
And possibly another snub, and I haven't checked this against the nominees, but talking about Fences makes me remind me that Michael T. Williamson turns in a performance that I didn't even know he was capable of.
Yeah.
Like, we all sort of fell in love with Michael T. Williamson for Forrest Gump, and he was great in that and everything. Ever since, he's been like relegated to all these horrible movies that came out. Like, he was in Heat for like, about 5 minutes or whatever, and then stuff like Species 2, I remember.
Purge election year.
Yeah, Purge election year and all this other stuff. But in this one, I was like, whoa, Michael T. Williamson is great in this. And I don't think he got any Oscar or Golden Globe love at all, but worth mentioning.
Absolutely.
So anyway, those were the 9 Best Picture nominees of 2016. Do we want to talk about anything else about this year?
Well, we got to talk about The Nice Guys.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Because it was another one of those early bright spots in the year, even though I only just watched it for the first time last week. This is a funny fucking movie.
Yes, it is.
Like, this is a movie that makes me laugh. I've seen it like 2.5 times in the last week, and it doesn't make me laugh any less. Like, it is just chalk. I find something new every time I watch it that I missed the first time around. It's the level of attention to detail, just for the sake of comedy, is just through the roof.
Yeah, the performances are terrific. I'm not a huge Russell Crowe fan, but when he hits something, he hits it out of the park, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
And just the way Ryan Gosling, man, just had a terrific year.
Yeah.
And the way that he delivers that line when he's asking these girls at the party, when he is hella drunk, he spouts this nonsense, but just talks like a normal person.
Yeah.
And it's just word salad. It's crazy.
Yeah. There's I love that part where he says, you know who else is just following orders? Hitler.
Yeah.
And he gives him this like knowing wink, like, you know what I'm talking about? The movie's full of that stuff. Just throwaway, like when they see the protesters on the steps and they're asking all these questions. Well, what are you protesting? The air. You're protesting the air. No, the pollution. It's killing the birds. Well, why are you dead? You're wearing a gas mask. Didn't that save you? Just nitpicking the protest.
The kid, when they go to the burned down house, and he's like, I'm kind of in the business. And they're like, well, what do you do? Projectionalist.
Yeah.
Is that the kid that wants to show him this dick?
No, that's the next one.
Yeah. And then again, The Nice Guys, Shane Black, and this is sort of like, what Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was.
Yep.
A movie that nobody saw, and I think still to this day not enough people have seen. The Nice Guys is the same way for me. This is another movie that people are like, whatever. And you need to watch both of these movies.
Oh, yeah.
The Nice Guys is fantastic. It's exactly what Jeremy and Barrett were going through there. It's like that all the way through it.
I love the running gag of trying to keep his daughter from saying "and stuff."
Yeah.
It's like, get to that party and she's
Yeah.
like, "Dad, there's whores and stuff." And he's like, "How many times do I have to tell you? Don't say "and stuff." Just say there are whores."
Well, and it reminds me that Shane Black, you can tell this is Shane Black dialogue because he does a lot of that type of stuff in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Like, especially with the whole badly thing and everything. And like, you felt bad. You didn't feel badly. It's like the method by which you thought, you felt was broken in some way.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that wordplay. And
Yeah.
he's one of the only screenwriters that can do that. They can
Yeah.
get away with that and make it entertaining.
Yeah, and also on a personal note, they have a 35 millimeter projection scene in this that I found extremely fun to watch because it took me back. I knew what the projector was, the platters, all that stuff. I was like, I've worked on that projector before. Anyway, what else do you want to talk about?
I mean, I have plenty. that
Go
I
for it.
but I know time wise we don't have time to cover everything, but I'll just throw some out, and then if we want to talk about them, we should. A Monster Calls.
Which still haven't seen that.
It's not getting a lot of Oscar or award attention, but one of my 10 favorite movies of the year. I think it's a beautiful metaphor. The animation style. There's several different kinds.
Which one is that?
This is about a boy who's dealing with grief. In fact, Felicity Jones, who was in Rogue One, is the mom in this who's dealing with cancer.
Liam Neeson the voice?
Liam Neeson is the voice of the tree.
Because they do really all run together. The BFG, this one, and the Pete's Dragon trailers all ran together for me.
And then you have to throw in stuff like Jungle Book and like whatever. By the way, are you a fan of the Jungle Book?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Bastard.
I watched this movie actually I guess opening night and I just didn't understand why this was considered great. So,
almost against your will.
Yeah, almost.
Well, that might have something to do with it.
Almost, although
movie is torture.
I watched this movie with Nostalgia Critic, who's out in Illinois somewhere, and he didn't like it either. And we both watched. We both turned to each other afterwards, and we're like, "Did you like that?" like, no, I didn't. I don't know if it was just the fact that it's been done so many times before. Yes, and you didn't like the effects, Jeremy. I know you didn't like.
Okay, well, I mean, I saw that tiger and I was like, well, there's a fake tiger, and I made
Really?
that into a sin, and I have been hammered ever since. Everyone seems to think the CGI in this movie is perfect.
Yeah, I did.
But it did not look real to me.
Now, here's the thing: you talk about your environment affecting how you see a movie, and I kind of joke at you a little bit about torture as a movie is never a good way to enjoy a movie.
Right.
I saw this in IMAX Laser. It was one of 3 movies I saw in that format this year, and it was gorgeous, like drop dead. The 3D was incredible. One of the things about lasers, the screen's so much brighter, so even the 3D looks super bright and vivid. And it doesn't darken like a lot of 3D glasses darken. And it was absolutely stunning. And so I think that was part of the experience for me, was just I really enjoyed the visuals of it. But I thought the metaphors in it were great too. I thought all the fire stuff was great. I love how they turned the story a little bit, as opposed to, if you watch the original Jungle Book, that story's a little weird. It ends with this kid finding kind of a child girlfriend from a neighboring tribe. And it's like this, and that's nowhere in this new one, because I think they know that that's not the point of this movie.
But it is still retread. I will say Bill Murray elevates the movie, because I remember my wife came in when I was writing Sins for this, and she was like, "Oh, is that any good? I've been wanting to watch that." And I was like 30 minutes in, and I was like, "No, no." And then by the end of it, I was like, "Okay, you might enjoy it. It does improve once Bill Murray shows up." It adds some humor, but again, he's going to go and do The Lion King. Okay, so he's going to tweak one little part of the story somewhere, but what's the point? What's the point?
I like to wait till after I've seen a movie to judge it. But. And
I'm not saying the movie's bad. I'm asking you, what's the point?
I don't know. Maybe you can find a new angle on it. I enjoyed the Jungle Book, so
well, and I thought the kid was good in this. I thought that, considering that he's basically acting against a green screen the entire time, and he's not actually in the jungle and everything, I thought he was really good. I did have a problem with the fact that this one tiger is somehow able to control everybody, when I feel like there would be a gang up on this guy he's worn out, old, and scarred, and all this.
I know what you're saying, but I would address you to our current political situation.
Okay, fair enough.
The other thing I would say, the thing that I didn't like about this movie, and the reason it kind of stays down on my list a little bit, is I think they should have taken the music completely out of it.
Well, that was one of the things that bothered me, including some of the same songs.
Yeah, I thought that was a little... And when the songs happen, they feel so out of place in this movie.
Yeah,
they really
don't belong. And I hope they don't do that with A Lion King.
It's a movie that because I've heard so many great things about it, I may give it another chance down the line. It's going to have to be a while, though.
We need to talk about Sing Street.
Yes, for sure.
This is a phenomenal movie, especially if you have any toe in the water of 80s nostalgia.
Yeah.
To see this, kid band, dip their toes into Duran Duran and all these other things it's incredible. Plus, here's the thing. The songs are phenomenal.
Yeah.
They're great.
They're great songs.
If you've ever played in a band in high school or college or grade school or whenever, This movie you should definitely see
Who
because
plays in a rock band in grade school.
What's like
This badass fourth grade ska band down the road is getting all
Listen,
kinds of buzz.
School of Rock,
School of Rock,
eh?
man. Jack Black. I mean, he's around.
You guys, you guys are like the internet today. You're like completely warping my shit.
And then there's the great 80s video basically on straight up VHS that they shoot and everything. That's great. You know, this is just a very fun love story, you know, like music and everything. I love the brother in this.
Oh, he is one of the best characters.
Another guy that, you know, maybe not Oscar worthy, but certainly should have been considered.
Oh, man, when he does that fist pump at the end, it's fucking great,
yeah,
man.
Absolutely. I love Sing Street. Another good recommend, by the way. Another small movie that came out that I enjoyed. Maybe, did you like The Lobster?
Yeah, well, it depends on which part of The Lobster. I love the ingenuity of the idea and the concept of this movie. I think it could have pulled the weirdness back about 10 decibels.
What a weird fucking movie.
Yeah, it's strange.
What a weird fucking movie.
Yes.
There's always one movie during screener season that my wife will look at me and go, what are we doing? Like, why are we watching this? And it was The Lobster this year. It was like, what is this?
I've never seen a movie like this.
Colin Farrell's performance in this is brilliant.
Yes.
I know that there are probably a few people who watch this and go, why is he so terrible in this? Because his line readings are so wooden, but they're on purpose. And man, when he goes through that big long thing as to why these two people shouldn't be together. Like there's all these like funny things to me. They think one little thing that they have in common with another person is why they should be together. And when they try to break down that, Colin Farrell breaks that down on one and says, it's like, so you see, he's not really handicapped and blah, 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 blah. So you're totally not good you're totally not good for each other or whatever. I just love that. And, it's such an unusual movie, and I would give it just points for that.
It's I mean, it is a complete metaphor on relationships in the modern age.
Yeah.
It's somebody who is, I assume, been very turned off by the world around them and how everybody has to have somebody in their life. And you can see a lot of those things in the rules of this universe, that they are perceived rules in our own universe, just taken to the nth degree. And I think it's really smart.
Yeah. It's dystopian and binary at the same time. You live in one universe where you have to have sex.
Right.
And you cannot masturbate.
Yeah.
And then you go to another universe where you have to masturbate and you can't have sex.
Yeah.
And it's illegal to be single in this universe.
Yeah.
It's so I think over time I'm talking myself into liking this movie probably more than the experience was, because there's a lot of very tense scenes in this.
Oh,
and very hard to watch scenes in this. Maybe not a lot, but a few. And but it's a fun experience.
Yeah.
I have a couple other early releases from this year that I want to bring up. One's 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah.
Which aside from the Cloverfield actual part, this is almost a perfect movie.
Yeah.
Goodman is amazing. The tension, it's brand new director Dan Trachtenberg, who I actually followed before he was directing, because he did a podcast that I loved called The Totally Rad Show. And so it's like, I admit my bias here. I kind of have that weird personal connection with him, even though I've never met him. But to see him do Hitchcock in this way was really impressive to me. And the key scene in that movie was so intense. I really thought 10 Cloverfield Lane was great.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it more than I liked Cloverfield.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Although I'm not big on this whole Cloverfield universe, because there's yet another movie that was already scripted that they've co-opted, and they're going to make part of this Cloverfield, so it'll probably have just as tenuous a thread relation as this one does. But I think the best thing about the movie is John Goodman, hands down. Now, we've raved about him a lot lately, so I don't want to go overboard, but he's creepy as hell in this.
Yes, he is. Also, screenplay has a co-credit from Damien Chazelle, so there you go.
Hey, there you go.
Makes sense. The other one I wanted to mention was Hail Caesar.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be, if I didn't bring up the Coen brothers. So I loved this more than most.
Did you love it?
I really did.
I liked it too.
They when they do that style sense of humor, I'm just along for the ride. It reminded me a lot of Hudsucker.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Oh Brother.
God, am I the only one that didn't like it?
No, I don't know. But
I saw this yesterday, and I liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah, me too. One thing that I don't like, though, is in these screwball things, especially in the Coen brothers, I wish Clooney would dial it back just a couple of notches.
Yeah.
You know? Because he's so cartoonish in this that it almost hurts the movie.
Well, and you almost can't distinguish between any of the characters he plays in these Coen brothers movies. He's always playing that sort of that dunce kind of character, like not really sure what's going on for, really. And then like always trying to show that he's smarter than everybody else, but is really actually dumb and all that type of stuff. I did like all the stuff that is involved with his kidnapping in this movie and like him talking to these communists and everything. I do that. It's one of those just very unusual type of movies the Coens every once in a while throw out there. I'm not sure if I love it yet, but I was very interested that I thought it was going to be just terrible when I watched it.
It has maybe my favorite scene of the year, which is the wood that it tore so simple scene
Yes.
between him and Ray Fiennes. I can watch that over and over again.
Yeah.
The frustration on Ray Fiennes' face as he's trying just to get it, maybe to pronounce one word kind of correctly.
Yeah. The
brilliant.
irony of the words that were so simple, like he's not making it simple. Of course, by the end of it, it's like it's complicated, and he even puts a knowing smile into it or whatever.
Well, and his performance was maybe the best performance in the movie. Alden Ehrenreich, I thought he was a revelation in that movie.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Christopher Lambert is in that movie.
Yeah.
That was a blink and you miss it
The
cameo.
interesting thing for me watching that, this is the type of shit that I think about. Christopher Lambert has a scene with Josh Brolin. Both of them were married to Diane Lane.
Oh, wow.
Oh. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Isn't Brolin still married to her?
No. I think they divorced a few years ago.
That's a bummer.
But so when I saw Josh Brolin talking to Christopher Lambert, I was like sitting there going, this is weird.
Yeah, and they hugged, right?
Yeah, but Lambert was married to her like in the 90s, and then it was like 10 years, maybe longer when Brolin. So I don't think they have like any like built-in animosity or anything.
There can be only one.
Did you guys see Eye in the Sky? Eye in the Sky is this beautiful war movie about modern warfare, and Alan Rickman's last performance is in it as well. Yeah. And it is incredible because it's all the tension of war in a boardroom. Because they're making all these decisions about, drones and, what's going to happen. And all the tension comes just from their dialogue about whether or not to do this, thing with the drone or not do this thing or what's the collateral damage. And just it's like the modern warfare math as opposed to just send a bunch of guys in and see who comes out with the most still living, that kind of thing. So it's really interesting and some great performances in it. It was one of my favorite movies of the year. So that's a high recommend for me.
Okay.
It's called Eye in the Sky.
I definitely want to see that. I've heard things about it. It was one of those that just kind of slipped by. By the way, another thing you said on the go Hail Caesar this whole podcast, but you said there can be only one. Yeah. Clancy Brown is in Hail Caesar as well. All right, so I'm going to start running them down now. A lot of the other stuff that's nominated for Oscars are like basically performance stuff. Jackie, which I think Natalie Portman was great in it. I'm not sure about the movie.
Oh, Portman has an amazing performance in it. The movie itself it's kind of two movies that don't really jive together.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
it was funny. Even though I love music and I'm very attuned to music, I don't usually like pay attention to like the score in movies a lot of times. Like a lot of times it's just like, whatever. This score is nominated. I was sitting there going, I love this score, but it's too much for what's being played in this movie a lot of times.
Beautiful music that doesn't quite fit the movie.
Yeah, it's real dramatic stuff. Like, okay, I get it. John F. Kennedy just got shot, but like, does every scene have to have this like just super dramatic music in it and everything? Another we talked about Florence Foster Jenkins. Another one that I saw recently was Elle. Did you see Elle?
I did see Elle.
That's a fucked up movie.
Yeah, that movie is messed up.
Yeah.
Great performance.
Yeah, very, very good performance from Isabelle Huppert. But this is one of those movies where like I guessed most of what was going to happen in it, even though it's set up to be sort of like a whodunit kind of, and it's kind of a fucked up whodunit, by the way. It's a rape whodunit.
Oh.
Yeah, and it treats rape in a really weird way.
Yes,
I've
it does.
never seen a movie treat rape like this where you're not sure if it was rape or not
Yeah.
for a while. And it's the way she's reacting to it is very, different than most movies have portrayed that kind of thing. I mean, it's not that rape is a crucial part of, most cinema going experiences, but, when it's touched on, I've never seen it touched on like this.
I think this is one of the most varied characters I saw in movies this year was Isabelle Huppert's, in her performance. There's so much due to her past, what's going on and just an interesting profession to give a woman too. Like she's the head cheese on this video game designer team, and of course, everybody in that team, any guy who hates her is a suspect in this type of thing or whatever. But very interesting movie, very fucked up. All right, so running down the list of other stuff at box office and everything, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I thought was, kind of whatever on that.
Another inessential kind of entry, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that it's bad, but it's just not
right. It's just,
potatoes.
and I know there's a lot of people who love it. I mean, we got a lot of shit for our podcast, but I didn't think it was great or anything. Jason Bourne, which was a huge disappointment for me. Paul Greengrass coming back with Matt Damon. This felt like
so disappointing.
This felt like it was just destined to be, but it just ends up being a forced thing. You can't force these things. That's what you get when you get those type of movies.
If you'd have told me at the beginning of the year that Paul Greengrass and Ben Affleck were going to make movies that disappointed me overall, I wouldn't have believed you. Like, I love those guys, but
Same thing with before Tomorrowland. There's no way Tomorrowland was not going to be awesome until I watched it.
Yeah.
It just shows you that everybody's human.
By the way, anything to say about Live by Night?
it's just, I mean, it's one of those disappointments in a good movie. In that you expect greatness from Ben Affleck, and I think long term on rewatches, there are some scenes in this movie that are going to live up to the hype, but it's just too much going on. There's too many characters. He doesn't focus well, which is weird for him because he usually does such a great job with focus. I wonder if part of it is playing the lead role and trying to direct is starting to wear on him. But yeah, I mean, I'd recommend it just to see it, just to kind of, get it in the library, but it's not, I mean, it's certainly not, Gone Baby Gone or that kind of stuff. So, or The Town.
A movie I think all three of us enjoyed, I don't know about you, Aaron, is Star Trek Beyond. I thought that was a really good entry, and especially with the trailers that we saw beforehand, I was like, this is gonna be bullshit. And turned out to be a very pleasant experience. And we
brought the fun.
Yeah, they
really
lost
did some of the fun in Into Darkness, and they brought it back.
I think the Star Trek movies are succeeding almost primarily on the casting decisions made by the first movie. They cast those movies so well.
Yeah, they're perfect.
Yeah. Now we're going to run through a string of disappointments here. Ghostbusters.
That is even more disappointing. I just saw it for the second time yesterday.
Yeah.
It's even more disappointing in the second.
I really wanted it to be good. I really did.
Yeah.
I knew better, but I really wanted it to be good.
Same here. I didn't see The Legend of Tarzan. How was that?
Big flaming stinking pile of crap.
It's awful.
Sully was a good movie.
Yeah, I like Sully.
I had a little problem with the ending. The ending goes way too long. The whole thing to prove that he did the right thing takes forever. There's no reason why it needed to be that way.
Plus, who wants to see a Monsters, Inc. movie without Mike Wazowski?
Yeah, right? Plus,
me, I do.
Plus, all the stuff that didn't even happen. I mean, it takes a lot out when this didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there was a controversy about this that he landed. Like, come on.
Yeah. Do you go to Wikipedia or somewhere after you watch a true story and kind of see where the true story kind of? One of the things I loved about The Big Short, and I know you guys talked about that in a previous year, was it was its own Wikipedia article. Like, it would turn to you in the middle of the movie and say, okay, this part's true. This part's not true. I was like, more movies like that, please.
Yeah. The Conjuring 2, which was, unnecessary as well. I don't know, well shot, awful movie.
Yeah, there you go.
Sausage Party, which probably has one of the most memorable scenes in 2016.
Yeah.
In it.
You're talking about the orgy scene?
The orgy scene. Yeah. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
You just don't know, no pun intended. You know it's coming, but but you're not prepared.
No,
for it.
not the lengths that they go to. Now this
No
this
pun
movie
intended.
to me felt like somebody trying to do South Park that
Yes.
wasn't as witty or clever.
Right.
And the whole thing kind of, I was excited to see this movie. I thought it was going to be funny and everything. It's got good people attached to it. There's funny parts to it, but like overall, like it was just boring. Up
I
until
like the idea of adult cartoons.
Mhm.
I like the idea that cartoons don't have to just be for kids, but I don't know that this went down the right path.
This is a movie who really actually had something to say. I mean, there was some really interesting things here about how we divide ourselves and those kind of things. The problem was I think they got caught up more in their own ability to be raunchy or funny, and so they would serve that instead of serving the story, because I think there's actually a version of this movie that is really good and powerful, but they short-circuited at the end by going somewhere really strange that completely eliminates the whole concept of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just in the orgy scene is way over the top.
Yeah.
And I get that that's the point, but yeah, I think they kind of short-circuited themselves.
I remember seeing this movie right after I saw a sneak preview of War Dogs, which was also pretty good. I thought War Dogs was a pretty fun movie. Jonah Hill essentially just steals the movie.
It was a Jonah Hill double feature.
Yeah, it was.
You know what else Jonah Hill was in? Hail Caesar.
That's right. He
Okay.
was.
Yeah,
He was.
for
A
about
little
12 seconds.
cameo
You know
in
who
there.
else was just following orders?
Jonah Hill. Passengers, which is
Okay, this is it. We're at the point.
You loved it.
I didn't love it, but I did like Passengers.
I liked it to a point. I hate what they do in these movies where they say that the character's awful actions in the beginning of the movie is justified because of what happens later in the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't, and see, I never felt like they let him completely off the hook.
Yeah.
I never felt like the movie completely said, oh, it's a good thing he did that.
I agree with you in some way, especially when Lawrence Fishburne wakes up and sort of like, I understand why you did it, but damn.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do think the movie does absolve. I think it takes him completely off the hook for it, because by the end of it, I mean, yeah, it's like, see,
Happily ever after.
Yeah.
Ends justifies the means.
right.
Here's my thing with Passengers. I am a sucker for a thinking movie, and I was thinking about this movie for days afterwards, and the moral conundrums and the ethics of what would I have done. I know how wrong that was, but am I the kind of person who could have not done it knowing it was possible? And what would I have done, and who would I have been? And and here's the thing. I think if they had sold that movie instead of the movie apparently the trailers were trying to sell, I think Passengers has a different shelf life and a different story. But I think they sold a completely different movie than they actually made.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about. You don't really know what you're like until you have been on, alone for a year and a half, surrounded by a whole bunch of people that you would like to talk to and interact with and everything.
And her side of the story is almost a horror story at times. Like, I mean, can you imagine?
You could tell that completely from her side, and it would be a horror movie.
Yeah. So I found a lot of that stuff really interesting, and I find him completely likable, and I find both of them completely likable people. So it's never bad to watch them on screen.
The Magnificent Seven. What'd you think?
That's a fun movie.
Is it?
I mean, it's a cliched Western through and through. It's an unnecessary remake because that was such
basically a
freaking
second remake
classic. You had Steve McQueen and Yul Brynner and Charles Bronson in the original, and you've got great actors. I mean, that's what sold us originally on the idea of the movie, is that Denzel and Chris Pratt and Ethan Hawke and all these guys.
Vincent D'Onofrio
looking
what a weird
rough,
performance.
looking rough. But Denzel does a lot of fun Denzel stuff in there. And I'll tell you what, Peter Sarsgaard is a fun villain. I mean, he does a lot of like little mannerisms that are almost like Heath Ledger's Joker. And he's a fun villain. But overall, a little bit forgettable. It actually made a lot of money, didn't it? Like $160 million or something like that?
It made 93 domestic. I don't know what it made worldwide. But again, I'm going to say this is a second remake. Even the original with Yul Brynner is a remake of The Seven Samurai. But But I still haven't seen it yet. I'm probably going to at some point.
Have you guys seen it? Because there's a lot of cinnable stuff.
Oh yeah,
in
we're going to be doing it soon.
Maybe next time they'll do the Magnificent Seven with toys.
Yes, maybe so.
Or animals.
Yeah,
Yes.
that'll be
Can you
great.
imagine a Toy Story directed by Antoine Fuqua?
Yeah. No, but I can imagine it directed by Antoine Fuqua.
Fuqua, is that how it's pronounced?
I'm just kidding.
Shaming each other today.
I have to say this because you guys had the Tudyk kind of pronunciation thing. I made that wrong pronunciation on my podcast because I heard you guys saying it wrong, and I was like, "Oh, I've been saying it wrong."
Oh,
so
my
I
God.
corrected to Tudyk, and then had to go back to Tudyk because it was right.
And now
anyways.
it's forever cataloged on your
Well,
YouTube wall.
I'm probably the same way. I'm not sure how many times I said it, but I was hearing Jeremy say it, and I was like, "Well, I've never heard it pronounced, so it's all right with me." And I think I had been saying Tudyk all the time, but like, who knows?
Either way, the point is he voices a chicken
Yes.
in Moana.
Yes, and he's also
Freaking amazing.
He also voices in Zootopia as well.
and Rogue One.
Yeah. Don't Breathe. I was not prepared for how
No, who
gross
could be?
that movie was going to be.
How could, unless you literally say turkey baster full of jizz jammed in someone's mouth.
Right.
How could you prepare for this movie?
Exactly.
Spoiler alert.
Well, I don't care. I'm trying to warn people away from this movie.
A lot of people really like this movie.
Yeah, it's
I think it's for the Hitchcockian stuff with the idea of, robbing a blind man and how the tension of that's a little
He's
different.
the worst blind guy ever.
Oh no!
though.
Listen, I am not defending this one. I will defend
You
passengers
can't
a little
smell a
bit.
guy right next to him, or
Well,
he doesn't blind very
changing
well.
air pressure.
and my biggest problem with the movie, and we send it recently, but like my biggest problem with it was their main conscience is in the movie is like, we shouldn't rob this guy. He's blind. They didn't know he was blind yet. They said he's a military hero. He lost his daughter, all this other stuff. And then like he doesn't want to do it. Then he looks this guy up on Google or whatever, and it says, oh, he lost his daughter, he got a settlement and all that, and so he lost his daughter and all that. He reads over this, and then he texts the girl. He's like, let's do this. And I'm like, what about that story that you read told you that we should rob? And then then later on, it's like, oh, it's kind of fucked up to rob a blind guy, among a lot of things that's fucked up about it.
This movie also spoiled itself in the first 5 minutes of
Yeah,
the movie.
yeah.
Which, like, it completely spoiled any tension of the movie.
Right.
Sometimes I think writers go, hey, you know what's a cool trick is where you show the ending and then you go back and show everything that led up to that ending. And they just do it without any thought to whether it actually will enhance the story or the viewing experience.
It completely steals any power the movie.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
The Accountant was a really good Ben Affleck movie, I thought.
I think The Accountant was a little ridiculous for me.
It was towards the end for sure.
That last scene was. There's some interesting stuff with the relationships in that movie, and again, stuff stuff I saw coming the whole time, and I think that's intentional.
Yeah,
like I think intentionally in that movie they want you to know what the quote unquote twist is. I can't explain any other way for how obvious they kind of make what's going on here.
Yeah,
so.
I like this. I totally agree with you. I think the first hour or so, I loved this movie because Ben Affleck this is sort of a different role for him, different performance for him. It's not that arrogant, cocky shit that he usually plays or whatever. And he's got an affliction basically, and it's just fun watching him work through that. But yes, totally ridiculous by the time it gets
that's
to
okay. I mean, I don't mind a movie getting ridiculous, but it makes it harder for me to go, oh, that's a great movie when it's just a lot of eye rolls.
I don't think we talked about Hacksaw Ridge when we talked about Best Picture nominees.
No, we did not.
Loved this movie.
Did you? Good.
Yeah.
Because I did too, and I'm hearing some people really can't believe it got nominated, and they wonder why. I watched this, and I watched Garfield in this, and I'm going, wow, I didn't know he had that kind of range. And I've seen him in great stuff before, but he plays somehow both Gomer Pyle and also some intense war hero. Like somehow he manages to combine those two and really do it. It's crazy. It's
this story is great. And then, how it's done is very entertaining. I love Garfield in this too. I don't really know if there's much to hate about this movie.
The fact that Mel Gibson directed it, if you're on that boat.
Well, if you're on that, if you're like sitting there like judging art by what somebody did,
I'm not on that boat.
No, I know
there
that.
are a lot of people who are.
I know, but I sit there and how many movies do we watch in a year? And somebody on that production, probably above the production line, has done something fucked up we don't know about.
I will never get over the fact that the stars of The Hangover refused to let him be in the second one, but they made the first one with the convicted rapist Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
That's where they draw the line.
Yeah.
Rape, okay.
Yeah.
Racism, drunken sugar tits comments, never forgiven. You go to hell, Mel Gibson. We want to hang with the rapist.
Exactly.
Pisses me off.
Exactly.
Because he's got more talent than Mike Tyson. If anybody should be forgiven, it's him over Mike Tyson.
I really enjoyed, too, the beginning of this movie with Garfield and Teresa Palmer.
Yeah.
Teresa Palmer's never been this good before either. Like, she's always been like background, eye candy type of, or Kristen Stewart's replacement when they can't get Kristen Stewart, basically. In this, she's really good in it. Like you fall in love with her character pretty fast.
And it's just an incredible story.
It's based on a true story.
Yeah, the true story is just a phenomenal idea. I mean, the idea that that a pacifist would go to war just to heal people is it's kind of mind-blowing and actually really inspiring to me. I loved it.
Yeah, and I mean, it had some shades of Sergeant York in it because
for sure
Sergeant York was the whole first half of the movie is about I'm not going because I'm religious and it's Bible says don't kill, so I'm not going to. And then he has to be sort of taught, hey, sometimes it's okay. It says here in the Bible it's okay if it's in war or whatever. He takes it a little bit further though, and says
he sticks
never
to it.
Okay.
And don't forget how funny this movie is. Vince Vaughn in some of those training scenes it's really funny. So there's some really good stuff here.
As I'm going through a lot of this other stuff, I'm not seeing many that pop out. There's Allied. I know that was like a big hopeful as an Oscar contender at one point. I don't think it
rumored to be the reason Angelina and Brad broke up.
Ooh, let's talk about that.
But he was maybe making a little mojo with Marion Cotillard.
Here, I'll list a couple. Silence, Martin Scorsese's film.
Yeah, I don't think that has that come here yet. I don't know. It's here.
It's barely come anywhere. It was on in Springfield. Only one showing a day at 9:40 at night for a 2 hour and 40-minute movie.
Wow.
Who's gonna you're just trying to sabotage that. I would recommend it if you don't mind the slower pace and if you like kind of the deeper stuff. The Founder, Michael Keaton.
Okay, that just recently got here too, and want to see that.
Great performance by Keaton and a really interesting look at the beginning of McDonald's. I knew some of that stuff, but the stuff I didn't know was absolutely fascinating.
He kind of basically stole the company, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah,
he absolutely did, and it's interesting to watch them show that. Miss Sloane, Jessica Chastain. It's kind of Aaron Sorkin light.
Yeah.
The dialogue in this is real quick and witty, and there's some courtroom stuff, and it's not quite Sorkin, but it's it's enough to pass for Sorkin. So I had a good time with that, even though it's not a great movie. Captain Fantastic.
Okay,
with Viggo Mortensen, who got nominated for that performance for Best Actor. Well worth a watch. It's a very interesting look at a quirky type of family. And you really find empathy, and you're rooting for them, in their difference. And
don't tell me who I'm going to root for.
I won't, man. You can root for whoever you want. I mean, if you don't want to root for Dory to find her parents, that's fine with me. I don't care.
I root for Dory to be left alone.
Swallowed by a whale.
Yeah, well, she should have been swallowed by a whale.
Several times.
Or a shark or something.
Biggest surprise of the year.
Biggest?
Edge of 17.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I was not expecting anything out of this movie. Was blown away. Great film.
I don't think I've heard a bad thing about it.
And just because it's just a great coming-of-age story that feels modern. And Harrelson and Haley Steinfeld are great. Their chemistry as teacher and student is really incredible. She's phenomenal in this. Blake Jenner is really good in this. I'd never seen him do, well, I haven't seen him do much anyway, but I just hadn't seen him be this kind of role. It gets relationships at that age right in a way that I haven't seen a lot of movies get, and it's really funny. So that was another one that I'd mention.
Also, just want to mention The Witch because...
You mean The Vavitch.
The Vavitch.
Yes.
a movie that I think over the year, I still don't like it, by the way. I think over the year, though, I've heard more reasons for why The Witch is the way it is, more than I've heard about any movie being the way it is ever. Especially with our conversation with modern horrors and how movies are trying to get marketed by being horror movies, even though they're not really horror movies. To that big, huge treatise that guy sent us, that one, and very respectful, by the way.
Yeah, very reasoned defense. And this is from an early English language professor in Toronto. He wrote us this big missive on why The Witch is a good movie. And I mean, you gotta give it up to him. I mean, it didn't hit for us for many, many reasons, but there's a lot of questions to it, but apparently it did enough to get a lot of fans.
Yeah, I guess the issue is that if they could have called this something else, we might have had a little bit different reaction to it. And it's one of those weird things. Like, if we called this, the Scarlet Letter Part 2 or something, would we look at it differently?
The Village Part 2.
Flagrant Goat.
Right. Did want to bring up two movies early on in the year that were disappointing to me. Hardcore Henry was a movie that I thought would be exciting. I mean, that first person type of thing, the trailer was fun and everything.
When virtual reality movies are a thing, that's the kind of movie that's going to get made. Like, it's made for something like that.
Yeah, and I don't know why it appealed to me so much, that trailer, but it did, and then I watched the movie.
Because you love killing.
I do, mostly. Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah. They only come out at night. And then Keanu was another movie that I was expecting to be a lot funnier than it was.
I liked Keanu.
It's really an hour and a half of them pretending to be tougher than they are. That's really all the movie
that
is.
is the joke.
Going to a different location and acting tougher than you
Some
are.
of that George Michael stuff is genius, though. When they're in the van.
In hindsight, it looks a little ill-timed.
Well, that's fair enough.
And that's not their fault. But I was expecting a little bit more from that. I really like, Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele, and I'm really interested in this Get Out movie that's coming out
Got
too.
good buzz at Sundance.
Yeah, so I'm there for that when that comes out. But that one was a little off for me. I mean, it's not bad. It just was one I was expecting a little bit more from it.
Did anybody else think one of the funniest movies of the year was Pop Star Never Stop Never Stop?
Oh yeah, that's right.
I never saw it, but I think Chris likes it.
Yeah, that slipped through the radar because I mean it's another movie that's not marketed very well at all. It's a fake documentary, and they don't know if they really sold what they wanted to sell on that, and it was in theaters for like 2 weeks.
I think my wife's quote coming out of that was, "I've never been so ashamed to laugh so hard."
Yeah, it's a perfect Bieber basically mockumentary, and the Lonely Island guys I think do knock it out of the park.
Hilarious.
There's a lot of old comedies that came out like Bad Moms I didn't like, and Whiskey Tango Foxtrot wasn't very good. I mean, Bad Moms was a huge hit. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. No, it wasn't.
Nah.
All right, let's vote.
Let's do it.
All right, today's order is the last of these orders, by the way.
No, because a year from now we'll do 2017.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. All right, well, the last for the
You just
year.
have to keep that file handy for a year.
Is Chris, Barrett, Jeremy, and Aaron.
Oh, man, putting me on the spot.
Yep.
On the spot.
That's
Johnny
right.
on the spot with
That's
the
right.
ammo.
Well, all year I've been saying Hell or High Water, so I'm going to say it here. Even with all the movies that I have seen since, I'm going to give Hell or High Water my favorite.
I'm impressed with the balls of that pick.
I cannot argue against
and
that.
I don't have a negative thing to say about. I mean, regarding that pick, I got lots of negative things to say about it.
Quite honestly, in this last whirlwind of movies that I have watched, I wouldn't be ashamed to say Manchester by the Sea or La La Land or any of those movies. I have a feeling of where this is going, but I'm going to say Hell or High Water to be different. So
I got you.
Boom.
You are such a different guy. You swim against the stream.
I am, man. Just don't worry about it. I'm over here being different.
I loved La La Land on so many different levels, on the superficial level, on the musical level, and on an emotional level. But I'm going to vote for the movie that stuck with me and will probably stick with me for a very, very long time, Manchester by the Sea.
Wow.
That movie, in all the good ways, if there's a good way to kick you in the balls, this movie kicks you in the balls in a good way.
Yes, it does.
Repeatedly. I think Casey Affleck's performance is one of the best I've seen in the last decade or so.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anything like it. So muted, but yet so expressive. So yeah, and I think that Lucas Hedges, Kyle Chandler, even Gretchen Mol, Matthew Broderick, and a blinking
Michelle Williams.
Yeah, we didn't even mention Michelle Williams, who
Oh,
in
man.
limited screen time has some of the most incredible scenes.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about fighting back tears, and there's a lot of times where it's very emotional indeed.
Yes.
But that scene when they first at the funeral where he sees Michelle Williams and everything comes flooding back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's my pick. It's just a great movie.
If we're not careful, it's going to end up going to Deadpool. I'm voting La La Land.
Nice.
My brother's just wrong, just like he is about the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
What a dick.
Does he not like Lord of the Rings either?
No.
What?
Wow.
And if he ever comes to visit and guests on the podcast, we're going to talk about that because it'll be a gang up 3 against 1 because we all love those movies.
Yeah.
But every time I see him, he gives me crap about those movies. La La Land is as close to magic as any movie I've seen in maybe 5 or 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It made me feel things I wasn't sure movies could make me feel again. And I love the whimsical stuff, like when they float up in the planetarium. The songs are phenomenal, even though I might have to argue that Timberlake's song is probably the most deserving. I think that is such a complete pop song.
Yeah, that's great.
But the music is fantastic. The score is great. The leads are engaging. And I had relationships in college that I thought were going to be eternal that weren't. And there's something about the way this movie ends and cheats, like we talked about earlier, that just really brought out the feels for me. So it's La La Land. So right now, you could take us down a swirling vortex or pick one of the 3 we've picked and call it a day.
Well, I will just say this. On SiftPop, when we did the 2016 Movie Awards, our official SiftPop Movie of the Year was Arrival. And I would have no problem picking Arrival. It's a great movie, but La La Land was the best movie.
There you go. In one round. Wow.
And Arrival would have been my next pick, and then Hell or High Water.
I was expecting La La Land from all 3 of you after I said Hell or High Water. I did not expect Manchester by the Sea.
I didn't either.
I was going to probably say that second because of everything that you just said there. There are so many scenes in that movie that are just...
Before I left the house, I swear to God, you don't have to believe me if you don't want to, but I almost wrote down on a piece of paper and put it in my pocket, Aaron and Jeremy vote La La Land, Barrett and Chris split, La La Land wins.
Oh, no shit.
I was that sure he was voting that way. If only because the way he reacted on Twitter when I finally watched it and said I liked it, because you were so happy that I
was so
seen
happy.
it. And I knew what I was voting. I could have called this.
Nice.
But, I don't have to prove, so you don't have to believe me.
La La Land wins.
Yeah, and very likely to probably win Best Picture as well.
I would think so.
I think it's a shoo-in.
Movie about movies.
There are some categories that I think people have the wrong idea about. I think Denzel's going to win Best Actor. I really think that's going to happen. I've been calling that, and I really see that happening.
And what makes you say that?
People want him to win. People love him. Nobody's really sold on the other performances. People don't like Casey Affleck. Politics comes into a lot of this stuff.
Well, and Casey Affleck has is a sexual harassment case against him or
there's
whatever.
Something. I don't really look into that stuff too deeply.
I don't either. I don't care about what you've done, personal life. If you've murdered someone, yeah, sure. But
I do have a line.
What I'm saying is that
you can separate the art from a person's personal life.
That's exactly what I mean. And a lot of people like to add this stuff. Well, he did all this and stuff. That he did all this stuff outside of the movie that you should think, well, that has nothing to do with the movie. Yep. So, But that's interesting. It would be interesting to see him win after Casey Affleck has swept everything, right? It's not unprecedented.
No, did he win the SAG? Did Casey Affleck win the SAG award? I know Emma Stone won the SAG award, which Natalie Portman's been getting a lot of buzz, but that may be fading. I just think people talk about Moonlight is kind of the main front runner to beat La La Land at this point, and I just think, and now there's a groundswell behind Hidden Figures. I just don't think there's enough behind any of those movies to upset the beauty.
Don't you
of this
think
La La
that
Land.
it's like like I keep thinking that La La Land doesn't have a chance to win Best Song because there's 2 songs nominated, and the audience that wants to vote for a La La Land song is going to be split. So one of the other 3 nominees is going to win.
It was the same at the Critics' Choice Awards. There were 2 La La Land songs nominated for
Best Song. One of them won?
Yeah, one of them. City of Stars won.
Oh. So what do you think? City of Stars is going to win here or Audition?
I think City of Stars will win, even though Audition is the better song.
Yeah,
but
they're both great, though.
That's an interesting point because I think City of Stars is the better song. Because I've listened to them both many, many times now. And City of Stars, man, just the duet nature of it and the way that it swells and then just calms back down. And then it's got that theme that runs through the dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun. And it's a great one. Both of them are terrific.
I actually think the best song is just that short 1.5-minute theme for them that he plays in the club that she first hears him.
Oh yeah. Me and Sebastian.
Actually, right now I just sang something else, but anyway, it's
right.
close to what I was. Yeah.
Denzel Washington won the SAG, which is a good indicator because
for Magnificent Seven.
Yes.
Death Glare.
Denzel Washington won. That is a good precedent because as we talked before, and I do believe actors vote for actors in the Academy Awards, and it's not anybody else. So if their own peers just put Denzel Washington up, then that's a very good indicator. Now, Daniel Day-Lewis won it way back in Gangs of New York Day. I think he swept everything for that, and then ended up being Adrian Brody. So,
that's wrong. That's so wrong.
We discussed how wrong that was. Long SinCast, it wasn't going to be one at one point. Like, I mean, we got a lot of 2016 in there, and it felt just like all our other best of the years we've been alive or whatever.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again to Aaron Dicer.
My
coming
pleasure,
back.
My pleasure.
Once again, plug where people can find you.
Sure, yeah. If you're interested in hearing more, Your Movie Friend is the website and the YouTube. So you can go to yourmoviefriend.com to see reviews or search for Your Movie Friend on YouTube. If you want to do a podcast, SiftPop, SiftPop is the weekly podcast. We have a great time. Myself and Andrew Ormsby from the YouTube channel Flick Freaks are the main 2, and then we have kind of a rotating group that come in for a third voice. And then follow on Twitter. If there's a movie in 2016 you really wish we had talked about, but we didn't, feel free to hit me up on Twitter and I'll chat about it.
I can't believe that we missed a whole lot.
I mean,
we did discuss every single movie. I'm pretty sure.
I will tell you that when you guys announced that I was coming in to talk about this stuff, there were several movies. People, hey, please talk about this. I saw a lot of that. I don't think we covered a single one of them. So
no, like one guy was like, please talk about this awesome indie movie, and then he named something that literally I've never heard of, like A Piece of Fruit in a Cup. It's this indie movie from Chile. Please talk about it. Like, some people have, like, the requests I get for what movies we should sin is always like, hey, sin City Slickers 2. It's terrible. I'm like, we try and do shit people want to hear. Come on.
It reminds me, I think it was The Onion with the AV Club. I know the AV Club's an Onion product or whatever, but they put out a top 10 one year, and it was like 9 movies that did not exist. They were fake. The titles were all these pretentious things or whatever, and then the last one was Toy Story 3.
It's like that Kimmel bit at Coachella where he was like asking attendees on their way in, are you excited about seeing The Walking Dogs? And they're like, oh, it's one of my favorite. Doesn't exist. Like, he just made up a bunch of fake band names. Anyway.
Well, if you want to talk about A Piece of Fruit in the Cup, just hit me up on Twitter. It's just my name, at Aaron Dicer, AARONDICER.
We appreciate you coming in again.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
You should move to Nashville and you could do it like on the regular.
And we get to like fill in some of the gaps that we have in this year, but we did a pretty solid job on that. I mean, even the ones I hadn't seen, you guys had seen some.
I think we plugged the holes pretty well.
So anyway, we would like to thank him again, and this is Chris Atkinson, Barrett Scher, Jeremy Scott, and Aaron Dicer. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
The documentary "I Am Not Your Negro" is coming out. That's
Yeah,
another big
Belcourt,
one.
yeah.
Another Belcourt movie that's coming out. I am going to have a hard time asking for a ticket for that, though.
Yeah, I had the exact same thought yesterday as I was walking past that poster.
Can't we have an alternative title, like or
just for white people?
Yeah. Or when I stop learning.
I am not.
Right.
Do you guys ever have like an awkward moment at box office? Because I saw when I was living in Louisville. I think it's an interesting movie. It was The Loss of Sexual Innocence. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah,
it was 1999.
I remember it. I just didn't see it.
But I walked in and it was like I had a break in class and it was like 2:00 p.m. and I had to go up to like this teenage girl that was working.
Oh yeah,
I was like, I can tell the loss of sexual innocence.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
She just like
I'll have one ticket to what you'll experience in 2 years.
Right.
Because the beauty in the what was that?
The cats must have just killed something.
Yeah, I think something just fell.
All right. Well, hopefully it wasn't glass. Let's keep going.
Yep.
It's Chris's anyway, not mine.
We didn't talk last time about awkward experiences for a critic because I go see everything and often it's alone. So I'm in these packed theaters for like Justin Bieber movies where moms have their daughters in there and they're eyeballing the middle-aged white guy who's in the back, you know, and they're just like, "Why are you here? What are you doing?" I feel like I need a big critic like badge or something. Like I'm here to review the movie, not your children.
This is not a weirdo.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a creeper?
Yeah, not a creeper.
That could work.
Which is weird. It's ironically it makes you seem more like a creeper or a weirdo if you had a badge that said you weren't.
I felt
I got to tell you though, the first Magic Mike was one of my favorite movie going experiences of all time.
because I bet the ladies
the crowd.
in the crowd were going
Oh my
crazy.
goodness, it was I was probably one of maybe 3 men in an entire crowd of about 400 people or whatever their big theater held. It was packed. And they were hooting and hollering the whole time.
Yeah.
And I just remember, I can say this on your podcast, but not my own. I just remember at the very end, a woman in front of me I would say mid-50s. Maybe she's a little bit, she stands up, she goes, "Huh, didn't even get to see his pecker."
I like that this podcast is where you can release the pecker.
Yeah. So,
This is a pecker story safe zone.
This is a
right.
pecker friendly area.
That's right.
Yeah.
You should tell her to watch Watchmen. There's lots of dong in that.
There
too.
is, but that's Billy Crudup digitized dong.
Well, how do you know it's digitized?
I'm sure it's digitized.
Maybe he's just that big.
Yeah, maybe.
I love. I don't know why, but
That's big.
I love that
How
scene.
do you know he's not blue?
I love that scene in Game of Thrones when they're gonna kill Tyrion and take his cock. It's like how will you be able to prove that it's a dwarf's cock? And it's like because it'll be a dwarf-sized cock. And Tyrion's like, think again.
Yeah.
And then there's this big pause, and the guy goes, "The dwarf lives until we find a cock merchant."
Yeah.
It's one of the most ridiculous lines ever.
Yeah.
Well, should I give you your gifts now?
Well, we don't
Can
know
I-
what it is, so you tell us.
Reward you for bringing me into this space?
Yeah,
If you
man.
give it to us now, it's probably going to end up in the outtakes
So
because we haven't introed anything yet.
That's all right.
That's true. I have some stuff. Again, nothing spectacular. Just I thought of you guys, as it kind of arrived at my home, and so I thought I'd present some stuff to you guys. So let me see what I got here.
We're going in blind, everybody.
Yeah.
This is for Chris or anybody who can understand anything about Inherent Vice.
Ooh.
Because on the podcast, you guys mentioned enjoying that. These are some collectible Inherent Vice cards.
Ooh.
What?
that came,
Nice.
so-
Awesome. Now, are you saying that I shouldn't be able to understand anything?
I'm saying anybody who can make heads or tails out of that movie is on another level than me because I could not understand anything about that film.
Well, understand, I've seen Inherent Vice now probably 3 or 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of things that I really didn't understand at first. Now, I haven't seen it for a while now. So if I tried to tell you what it is about, I would stumble over it a lot because there's a lot of just weird stuff. But yeah, it's not.
I have never been as confused coming out of that movie as any other
It's
movie.
not it's not a comprehensive. You have to watch it many times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can
and
dig
even
deep.
even after the many times, you're not gonna. I mean, I don't think it's ever meant to be that type of movie.
Was it
why I love it.
Sicario that none of you guys had watched
Yeah.
during? Okay, so I brought you the script from Sicario in
Ooh.
case you don't want to watch it. You can read it.
Well, and I
So-
have now seen it. In fact, who would like the script to Sicario?
I'll take it.
Yeah,
They're making
the
Sicario
screenplay, I
2.
should say.
are they now?
And it was just announced officially today that
Awesome.
he's going to make Dune. So that guy's going to be busy
Interesting.
because he's finishing up the Blade Runner sequel, and he's going to make Dune and Sicario too.
Yeah, the
He
guy
is going to
work,
make Dune?
Yeah, that
Oh,
just
nice.
she
You're
just
talking
announced
about-
it today.
the guy
Denis
works a lot.
Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
He, after our episode where we were all like, well, we hadn't seen Sicario. We're fuckheads.
Yeah.
I went the next day. I watched Sicario.
What'd you think?
Love Sicario.
Yeah, for me, it's that border scene is one of the most intense scenes I've seen in any film ever.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
That's one of those like just highly memorable. Boy, I can't wait to see that one again when I get around to it. Type of scenes.
This is for Barrett, based almost solely on a tweet you sent me after you talked about this movie. This is a screenplay for Inside Llewyn Davis.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow!
In case you want to read it and see how beautiful the circular aspect of the story is.
You know
and
how many
it's-
people have told us to
and
give that
it's
another shot?
Just like a record spinning, and it's maybe it'll come to you
I
in
am
the
literally
words.
going to read this
Are
like
you really?
probably this weekend.
Nice.
Because we did get a lot of comments about that. Like, oh, you got to give it another shot. And I did just see, I think I saw it when it first came out, and then I saw it recently, and I still just did not like it. I love the performances, but yeah, I'm going to get into
Is this a movie though that gets more positivity out of the circular aspect of it than the actual movie as a whole? though?
Possibly.
Because that's the way I feel about it. Like if I were to watch this movie again, I would still have to sit through a lot of like singing scenes and like, stuff that's not terribly exciting to get to this, that trippy ending. you know? But maybe I'll have to watch it again.
It's
I know when I watched it the first time, I kind of I liked it, but then it sort of like it fell for me over time.
This one's obviously for Jeremy. This is the screenplay to The Martian.
Oh, that'll complete my trifecta now.
Perfect.
You get the book.
I have the book and the movie,
There
and
you
now
go.
the screenplay.
Yeah.
This is great. I actually talked my wife into reading the book,
Yeah.
and she can't put it down. She started last night, and she was like, "I love this."
So do you guys like read screenplays? Because it's a really interesting thing. They're so different than even just watching the movie because you get an idea of the side notes and what the director. Screenplays
No,
are great.
I
too.
like
I used to
them.
read them
I
all
like
the
them a lot.
time.
Yeah, I have a few here. I have the 3 original Star Wars scripts, and I have Pulp Fiction. And Pulp Fiction was really interesting to watch to read because there's a part in there where Bruce Willis during his run up to his apartment is basically saying, "This is my World War III right here. This is just like blah blah." We all know that I'm pretty sure that Quentin Tarantino read this part of the script and said, they kind of understand this is the struggle that he has to go through to get the gold watch, like all of the ancestors did and everything. And he cut that out. Thank God, because that whole scene is just like, okay. He would have been saying it to himself, or it would have been narration or something. So,
He's just got that one line. That's how you're going to get him, Butch.
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to keep underestimating.
Keep underestimating.
Next for Barrett, since you're kind of the music guy in the room, right?
Oh, a lot of gifts.
So,
It's like Christmas.
this is a Happy signed by Pharrell.
Ooh.
Oh, snap!
Holy shit.
Ooh.
You're getting quite the collection of weird autographs.
Hell yeah, baby.
Also, screenplay for Arrival. for
Oh,
Nice.
Ha-ha!
And then,
My brother got me the book, the short story anthology that was based on, and I'm dying to dig into it because I've read that all of the short stories in that are great.
and Chris, I don't know if you're the poster guy, but I brought you a poster of, and I'm not even sure how you feel about the movie because it was this year.
He is the poster guy.
I
though.
am definitely a
It's
poster
the
guy.
poster
This
boy
is,
for posters.
Manchester by the Sea, and it's signed by the director.
Highly
Oh,
nice.
shit.
Kenneth Lonergan. Yeah.
That is badass.
Yeah, it is. We're
So-
gonna have to find a way to hang this up somewhere because
got some room.
I did. Spoiler alert. Enjoy Manchester by the Sea.
Well, if this is in the outtakes, they already know. So
That is rad.
And one more. This is a limited edition lithograph, Jeremy, for you from Big Hero 6. 'cause
Nice.
I know you're a fan.
Whoa.
So they made 500, I think. And,
Woo.
and it's numbered in the.
And it's the
Look at all
skyline,
this.
too.
All
Got
this.
some
Oh, yeah, it's the-
paraphernalia
Yeah,
up
man.
in here.
He got some swag for his.
We're in the
critic-
wrong
You can
business,
play this
though.
on your
Yes.
record player, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a 7-inch.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is awesome, dude.
Orange, fine.
So, yeah.
Well, shit, we can't say bad stuff about you anymore.
There you go. That's
Nope.
all it's about.
He heard us badmouth him that one
That's
after
right.
he left. We're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
that
yeah.
bastard Aaron Dicer.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's like, I'll fix them with gifts.
That's right. Kill him with kindness.
Pharrell spells his name with a 4.
In all seriousness, though, thank you guys. I
Oh,
really
yeah.
appreciate you
That's
having me
awesome.
on.
Oh,
and
thanks
it's
for all the awesome
absolutely
gifts.
a blast to be here. So.
Absolutely.